Ready?
Hold on, Trap. Yeah, the Rizzo on my nigga.
Yeah,
Boom.
that's gonna get us a copyright strike.
Right. That's why I want to cut that shit off real quick. You can't handle no more of them. Not yet. Not yet.
Nah,
All right, yeah, let's go, man.
we on. We live.
Cool. Peace. What's up? What's up, family? What's happening, all the viewers out there? Good evening. Tonight, our topics are going to be decoding the code of the streets and talking about the power of or within self. Let's go. Start this off, brother. In terms of decoding the code of the streets, man. Let me pick your brain on that a little bit. As to what exactly I know where I'm at with it. I want to see where you at with it in terms of the code of the streets and why it needs to be decoded. My guy, I always count on highs. Man. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh
yep.
wait,
So I'm thinking as Haas is coming in.
okay.
First thing that come to mind is a song by Troy Ave.
Yo,
What's up, Haas?
Yo, Haas, we need
I'm
your
chilling,
picture, good
Justin.
brother.
What's up, y'all?
What's up?
I'm
Where your
chilling. I
picture
just
at?
came in the crib.
That's what's up. You always on time, Haas.
Good
Turn that picture on, brother.
to see y'all, man. What we talking
It'd
about?
be nice if we could see you.
Am I joining that on? Oh,
This
man.
There you go.
All right.
My
I gotta
guy.
get my background up.
My guy.
What's up?
Yeah, so we can run through this again. Tonight's topic is decoding the code of the streets and the power of or within self.
Why?
So we talking about the streets, Haas. So this is a real good subject for you growing up in the streets in North Philadelphia, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
So, so the first thing that come to mind for me, one, is a song by Troy Ave. You know Troy Ave? Haas?
yeah.
So he got a song. I don't know too much about him, but I just happened to come across this one song called "Streets Is a Myth." And it's a whole video for it, but I thought it was pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Just in terms of how, there's a lot surrounding the idea of what it means to be from the streets. And in urban music and in hip hop music, it's glorified, and it's also oftentimes associated with some type of criminal activity or quote unquote gangster or even going to jail or going to prison validates your street credibility. You know what I mean? And then, there's somebody like me who I feel like, I was exposed to the streets. I grew up in the streets, but my mentality wasn't really one where I felt like in order to have street cred, I had to have a criminal background or go to jail or something like that. And then, when I go out in the suburbs, they could be doing the same things, but it's not necessarily the stigma attached to it of being in the streets or being from the streets. So I think that there's a lot of clarity that needs to go on in terms of what the street code is, what it means to be from the streets. Is it a myth we've pumped up and turned into this whole fantasy island that really doesn't exist? You know what I'm saying? Is it really just our neighborhoods and our culture and our lifestyle just being bottled into this thing called the streets? Like I said, is often associated with criminal activity. So what does it mean to be from the streets? And is there a street code? If so, what is it?
Well, I think the street code applies to certain people, not everybody, because not everybody like from the streets or in the streets, like people that's from the poverty or hood, whatever. They work, they might be working or something, but still have to go back, and see those and deal with those things. But they not necessarily dealing with them, but being where you from could be make it harder on your path, I guess. But it don't apply to everybody. So it shouldn't matter. If you ain't in the streets, you ain't getting money off the streets, and it don't apply to you.
You know
That's
what?
how I feel.
I hear that, man, and that makes perfect sense. What doesn't make sense to me is the well, I'm just gonna tell you what I witnessed. You know, this past summer, man, a lot of dudes that wasn't into the streets, man, was getting chopped down. You know what I mean? Because they
Mm-hmm.
were good dudes. From that's the take I'm getting on it. You know what I mean? A lot of good kids, man, got lost their life, man, and a lot of families got hurt really deep. Some families I know personally. You know, so I'm like, is it a code anymore? Because I'm a little bit in disagreement with you, Haas. I think the code of the streets does apply to everybody. You know,
Mm.
even if you're just a visitor, you better know the code of where you at or the code of the streets, period, so you can stay away from some pestilence and some wrongdoings, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's probably why these young boys, you know, became targets, man, because they wasn't living that street life no more. You know what I mean? To tie into what you were saying, Ellen, is like, you know, does I'm trying to remember how you put it. Does the gangster, I guess it's gangster, supposedly. Does that where does that where how did that take over? You know what I mean? Because when I came up, man, it was about, you know, different things, man. You know, the culture was of course rap music, man, was how we dressed. You know what I mean? It was partying, man. You know, it was getting money, you know, but it wasn't senseless loss of life. Not to that level. Not to where it's at now. So for me, I'm kind of looking at it like maybe the cool got flipped somewhere in there. And what are you know, I want to come from a position more or less what caused that. You know what I'm saying? But I want to hear what y'all got to say too.
First, I want to define what does it mean to be from the streets. What does that even mean? You have to be involved, like I said. You got to be getting money off the streets. Do you got to be involved in some type of crime? What does it mean technically to be from the streets? What are we actually saying when we say, "Yo, they from the streets," so I'm from the streets? What does that mean?
It means just that. You from the streets. You know,
So, are
like
we from the streets?
I am.
Okay.
Well, somebody
Okay.
just told me I'm from the streets the other day. I try to, well, they said, you a street nigga. You a street nigga. I said, how? But I got other people. See, a person that really don't do nothing in the streets gonna call me a street nigga. But somebody that's really putting in work out here, they not gonna consider me as a street nigga. They gonna tell you the quickness. They could be my friends and all, but they to what the to you know what they into is like way deeper or whatever. They're not gonna say I'm from the streets. You know, they're not gonna say I'm a street nigga. You know what I'm saying? Only the person that's less experienced in the streets gonna call me a street nigga because I don't really, I might hang with some street guys. I don't know what street things is. I don't know what I don't sell drugs. So what's like I considered me as a street nigga before, but then I was like, I'm not really doing nothing in the streets for real. I'm just doing artwork and just doing me. I'm not in the streets being active. I'm not shooting up and down the streets. I'm not getting no shootouts. I'm not selling drugs.
No, but when did that make you a street nigga though? I mean, that's my issue with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm older dude. So when I came up, just the things that you mentioned, graffiti writing, the way we dressed, the type of lyrics and stuff that we was putting out, it was, it was a badge of honor to be from the streets, man. That meant something. You know, and somewhere in there it just kind of flipped. And now like the only kind of street or the term street person, street nigga mean that you got to be doing some nefarious shit in the streets. I mean, what about the people that go to work every day that live on the same block that the dude is or the people that's doing all the shooting and all the drug selling? They not
They
street niggas.
they don't consider them as they would like I just told you. My friend just told me I'm a street nigga, but I had another friend. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? He active. He gonna say you not in the streets though. Like he gonna tell you. I mean,
So let me ask you this then. Based off of that understanding,
you got some people that caught bodies. You got some people that didn't. And the people that didn't, you gonna have them people on that level looking down at them, like they ain't no street nigga. You don't put no real work. They ain't nothing. It's levels. There's also levels to the shit too.
well, that's what I'm saying. So what level omits you from being a street person? I mean, not a street person. I don't want to say that. It sounds like you're homeless. Yeah, I mean,
You see, the senseless
Somebody who grew up in the
killings,
streets.
the senseless killings is making it. What's making it like that though?
So there's no negative and positive street culture. It's just all negative.
Man, the way they got me, how I look at it now, is that you ain't no killer, you ain't no big drug dealer, you ain't from the streets. And you ain't even got, I don't even think you gotta be from the streets to be a drug dealer. So, but at the end of the day, if you ain't killing nothing, you ain't dropping nothing, you ain't from the streets. And that's the message I'm giving.
That's crazy.
Bro, right.
That's a definite paradigm shift. And I got a hard time accepting that, man. Like I said, when I grew up, man, all you had to do was be a B-boy. You know what I'm saying? That's all you had to do. And you was from the streets. I grew up right around the corner from Tasker Homes, man. Played in there most of my life. You don't get any more street than that?
So now, so what we're saying is that in order to be considered from the streets, you got to be involved in some type of activity, whether it's selling drugs, whether it's killing somebody, something that's involved with
I think,
something.
that's where it's at now. If you ain't doing that,
Now I know I'm old.
I think that bar raised the street code applies to them.
Okay. That brings me to another question. I hear a lot of these rappers talk about how they from the streets. They pump figure.
See, what I considered as street back then was what we just like talking about with the drug dealing and all that. They was regular street dudes. That's regular street dudes, I guess you could call them. I don't know. That's levels, man. The street code applies to people that's in the street. You ain't in the street making no money, doing anything active in the street that involves you need the support from the street for you to live and survive. You ain't from the street.
Okay.
So if you got a regular job, but you hang out, you chill with your homies on the corner sometime, you ain't from the streets then.
Nope. So on that, I would like to retract my previous statement. I am not a street nigga.
I'm just saying you can't survive. If you can't survive in the streets, you're not a street nigga.
So what if you got a legal hustle that includes selling stuff to people in the community? Is that still getting money off the streets? Like, let's say you sell bean pies.
Poverty pimping? What?
No, let's say you sell bean pies, right? Yeah. But you selling them out on the streets, like the Muslims do. They get money on the streets.
You living off the streets,
healthy, man.
I'm saying they get money. My point is they getting money off the streets.
Yes.
So are they from the streets?
Great point.
No.
Where the hell are they from? What if you live next door to the fucking trap?
I'm not counting.
What about if you live next door to the damn trap house? You still ain't from the streets?
Man, no. I lived next door to a trap house before. Got caught in a conspiracy.
Well, somebody thought your ass was a street nigga then.
The cops did.
So you a street nigga. So what you saying is to the street niggas, you not a street nigga.
Now, if I was a street nigga, I probably would have lost that case. And I wasn't a street nigga. I was fresh out of Hanneman Hospital.
Wow, listen, I know a lot of street niggas that beat a lot of cases, man.
Yeah,
I know a bunch of them.
But I probably wouldn't have beat it because if I was a street nigga, I would have been seen. They would have had something on me.
So, how about in prison? In prison, was you considered from the streets?
By who?
No. I was respected though. I think I'm more like just being. I want to be respected. And that's it, man. All the street code you can have it because the street niggas, like, at the end of the day, they just want to be respected at the end of the day, and that's all they know how to survive. Street.
So even though you grew up in the heart of North Philly,
and
you got a little time under your belt to give you some street cred,
and you got homies that's in the game
that I got paid for and beat.
You wouldn't consider yourself from the streets. I can dig it. So again, is this thing from the streets? Is this a myth, a fantasy that it has been projected onto or by Black people?
No, I think we did that.
What you mean?
We manifested that type of living, right? Surviving.
Word. So my situation growing up, you know, I had nights where I had to literally sleep in the streets to survive. You know what I mean? And in the middle of the night, wasn't nobody out there but dope dealers and stick up kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that became the people that I spent my time around.
So you survived in the streets.
Now, when I was offered crack to sell, I turned it down and decided to go to work.
Yeah.
True
Well,
story. So
I think all of us turned that down and took that out. You know what I mean?
right. So does that make me from the streets? The fact that I was out there, that I had to sometimes spend nights out in the streets to survive amongst the killers and the drug dealers, the
But
stick up kids.
do we consider you as a street nigga though? Now.
I don't consider myself a street nigga if that's associated with the stigma, the stereotypes that come with it. You know, as far as being a criminal or aspiring, or having some type of loyalty to a block that I don't own any real estate on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm confused. I'm confused. So the only time in my life I've been a street nigga was when I was breaking the law.
Yeah. No, when I feel like you survived when you just needed the streets, you needed the support from the streets, you survived in the streets, whatever. You was giving them, they was giving
Okay, so I got a better question than the dreadhead. I'm a barber, right? So there was a definite bona fide time where I needed the streets to make money. That was my clientele. That is my clientele. You understand what I'm saying? So if it wasn't for the streets, I would not have been able to pay my bills, feed my children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at that time, was I still a street nigga?
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing that. I wasn't in, selling drugs or hurting nobody or
Oh,
thinking
I
about
thought you
hurting
said you were
nobody.
selling drugs.
Huh?
I thought you said you were selling.
I was selling haircuts, bro.
And
Right.
we,
That's what you said. Yeah. Well,
I said, and we.
listen. And we
Not a
right?
weed. I guess that changes
Listen,
the dynamic, huh?
Listen, man, they setting the bar out here, man. Come on, be a street nigga now. You gotta catch a body. You gotta be smoking on a pack.
Gotta be smoking on the pack.
You gotta be smoking on somebody tonight.
Oh, okay.
That's how I feel.
Listen, I want to read something to y'all, man. Right, this is where I was at with it. In terms of decoding the street code, how it affects the culture, how it changed. Is violence being accepted as a part of the streets when it used to be the arts, music, dance, and graffiti and our attire? Is criminal activity viewed as a badge of honor? Is it glorified? I'm sorry, glorification of negative aspects, quote unquote, the gangster culture, gunplay. You know what I mean? Ain't no more hand to hand combat. Ain't nobody fighting. Those are all the things that make you a street nigga.
Repeat that. I couldn't hear nothing.
Did you hear me, son?
No,
Yeah.
I ain't hear you.
That was a lie, Haas.
I couldn't hear nothing.
That's what it was. It was just a lot.
Okay. I don't know if I want to run through all that again, but I'm
I
gonna
ain't
do it.
hear all that.
Okay, so in terms of
Summarize.
decoding the street, right? In terms of decoding the street code, my thought process led me to how it affects the culture and how it changed. Is violence being accepted as part of the streets? It used to be the arts, music, dancing, graffiti, and the way we dressed. Is criminal activity viewed as a badge of honor? Glorification of negative aspects, such as gangster culture, gunplay. There is no more hand to hand combat, which means you can't truly protect anything unless you have a gun. You catch me that time?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yeah.
those are the
You
components that
know,
make.
I think one of the things that we didn't include is the fact that rap music is used to personify, perpetuate a certain message. Rap music literally became the soundtrack to the
Streets,
streets, or for the
but it always
streets.
was. But I did
It
mention that.
always was.
But I
Problem
did.
with that is the problem with that is that by design it
Here
started
we go.
to take on a very limited and shallow personality. And that that presence was always there, but it just wasn't the dominant presence. And
Right.
then what happened is the music started sounding more like I'm a gun, I'm gonna get this gun, I'm gonna kill this person, Rikers Island, crack. You started hearing a lot of key terms and seeing key personality figures being magnified. So much so to the point where that became the definition of the streets, which excluded regular everyday people that may have been a part of the culture but not necessarily into anything illegal or destructive. At one point in time, the regular working person could be just as much a part of hip hop, just as much a part of street culture as everybody else. At one time, a 4-year-old, 10-year-old, 13-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old could all be part of the same culture in terms of way of life, personality, speech, fashion, dance, all of these different things being from what we call the streets.
Mhm.
Then over a course of time, that got pigeonholed into a criminalized uh, pipeline to prison type of mentality, which is pretty much when you say streets now, I'm from the streets. Even people that's not from that, once they start saying I'm from the streets, they take on a different swag about them, more aggressive swag. You know what I mean? A more cunning swag or a more criminally associated personality. You know what I mean? When the topic or the idea of he's from the streets now comes up, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't apply to an artist. Even though you grew up in the heart of North Philadelphia. How could you not be, influenced by what goes on culturally in the streets? The streets ain't just what happens in the middle of the night or what happens when an illegal activity goes on. It's the whole culture. But I think another big part of the problem is allowing our culture to be pigeonholed into these into these terms that are not broad enough to define the culture itself. Our culture is so rich that to just say, well, that's the streets, from the streets. That term is too small of a term to fully describe our culture anyway. That's why I
Yeah.
said when I go to the suburbs, I don't hear them saying, yo, I'm from the streets. We got street signs like we got street signs. We got criminals like we got criminals. We got killers like we got killers. I don't hear them saying, "Yo, I'm from the streets. I got a 4.0 GPA. I'm from the streets."
Mm-hmm.
That whole mentality doesn't exist. So I think in our communities, there's a problem with certain terms, ghetto, streets. These terms being applied to our culture and our personality that really puts a glass ceiling on how far we're able to manifest our thoughts.
It's a hell of a segue, son. But we ain't ready to go there yet. That's one hell of a segue
Mm-hmm.
to the power of or within self. But we're gonna get to that a little bit later. Yeah, so I mean, I'm in total agreement with you, man. I was kind of playing the devil's advocate a little bit earlier, man. Just trying to,
Mm-hmm.
hear what it is because we're from two different generations, man. And I never
That's
forget that.
exactly what it is.
I never forget that. So
Generations. Different.
for me, somebody, claimed to be a street nigga. It was more like, he could have been the coolest cat in the whole hood, man. You know what I mean? Got a little bit of money, got a couple chicks, nice car. You could have a nice job that provided that. You know what I mean? But you always hung out with your people, man. And I'm a 70s baby. So to your point, Ella Naj, the term ghetto, man, was like, I was proud to be from the ghetto, bro. You know what I'm saying? Not so much now anymore. Man. I got a tattoo on my forearm, ghetto child, man. You know what I mean? Because that's where I'm from. But the ghetto didn't mean it was a bad place only. Like you said, bad things happen all over the place, man. I'm very well traveled in the school district, man, in and outside of Philadelphia. And the same shit was happening when I was going to school in the suburbs that was happening when I was coming home. They just had more money to facilitate what they wanted. You know what I mean? So the strategic flip of that term caused a complete shift in the mentality of the people. It's like you want to have a hard time now. You want to have the illusion that everything is against you, including the people that surround you. That was a very crafty and strategic move. I agree with you, Eleanor.
Imagine and if we also taught our youth that as gods we're from the universe, and that was the mentality that was being promoted through the music. What type of shift would we see then?
Do you see that?
Mm.
You see what that say, huh?
7?
No, up out here.
Nah, you too high. You too high.
What about now?
Black man is God. Black man is God. Lose my voice. Damn. Yep.
So if we start, reinstituting that message, I think we can quell a lot of our ills. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Eleanor,
You good?
but I think that's what you were alluding to.
Yeah, I mean, I could just imagine if that was being promoted through the music, if that was the soundtrack. We would see a lot of different changes. Which brings us to the point that how much of this is by design, and how much of this is based on our own accountability.
Answers 100% both ways.
What you think, Haas?
I agree. Both ways. Shit. The accountability.
Yeah.
Both ways, me.
There's only one thing that excuses a pessimist, man, and that's ignorance. You know what I mean? And in more cases than not, ignorance is a choice. You know what I mean? So if you choose to remain ignorant, if you choose to remain in a position where you're going to, hurt your nation, then that's your fault. You know, and I don't care what you do. I don't care what anybody does. I don't care how you get your money. You know what I'm saying? That's none of my business. That's all up to you. But I know that when I perform certain actions, man, I know that there's going to be certain reverb and certain reactions that come from them. You know what I mean? And the fact that that's glorified, that the negative parts of our environment is glorified, that's a hell of a fucking fucked up thing to do to a people, man. That's the only way I can put it. And that's done through the media, you know, in a tremendous way. You know, like I said, I'm from a whole different generation than you.
Mhm.
I remember when you actually had to be good to be a rapper, man. You actually had to be saying something. Like if you was just on some bubblegum bullshit, like ain't nobody trying to hear that shit. Now that's completely reversed. Now
But
people,
I'm speaking from a younger generation than me, like the generation under me. That's what they think about street as a, that when you say when it was flipped and how it was flipped, that comes from the generation one level behind, well, before, well, after us.
nah, it doesn't. It comes from the generation before them because they got that message from somewhere.
I
You
don't
know what I
know,
mean?
man.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't think
telling you.
they got it from us. They made us obsolete.
Y'all didn't uphold it, and we didn't uphold it for y'all in a correct way. You know what I mean? Elanai spoke of accountability, and it's so easy to shift the accountability because you don't want to be part of the solution. But ain't gonna be no solution if we, not you. I'm not picking on you, Haas. I have a son that's about your age,
Hmm.
and in terms of the culture that's in front of him now, I feel like I failed. Is what I'm saying. I feel like my generation failed. You know what I mean? Because who we were stopped being important, and we let what somebody else somebody else's image or what that image that somebody else wanted to be of us penetrate them and become who they are now.
Well said. Very well said.
Thank you. Yeah, so I wasn't coming at you like you felt personally or your generation. It's enough blame to go around, man. You know, but yeah, we have to start being accountable.
Hmm.
I can't say stuff that I know you doing wrong is your fault if I never taught you what was right.
Peter Tosh
Right.
said you can't blame the youth.
Nah, you can't ever.
So I wanna share this clip. Mel, you familiar with it? When I was at the Tupac Memorial in Atlanta, and I read this thing called "The Code of the Thug Life" that he wrote.
Right.
It was kind of interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and share this with the audience.
I'm gonna kill my picture for a hot second. I'm right here though.
No problem.
Judgment. That right.
Took the opportunity to meditate and ask myself, what kind of universal message can I bring to the people where the prayer isn't just a wish to the sky, I hope that God answers our prayers. Upon my meditation, I realized that, okay, maybe I should let Pac do the talking. You know what I'm saying? I came across something years ago which Pac left for us that a lot of people just don't know about. I looked for it on the internet, I couldn't find it. I looked for it everywhere, I couldn't find it. So I had to figure out where I left it at. I figured out where I left it at, went and grabbed it, and it was Tupac's last prayer to the streets. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna start with that. This is called The Code of the Thug Life. And he wrote this was inspired by Ratuda Shakur. Alright? Pac said, someone must dare to put the street life back on track. It's clear to anybody that can see that the hustling game has gone stark raving mad. The short and long range result will not only be detrimental to the street game, but will also destroy any foundation in our community. But more important, the combination of self-destruction and turf warfare, coupled with the government's police terrorism, fascist laws designed to capture and keep our black men and women in jail for the rest of their lives, and leaves a defenseless community, will result in our genocide. For as long as the street game, the hustle game has existed in our community, which is the result of many factors and will only be resolved through our liberation. The dynamics of struggle between the do-gooders and the thugs has kept a consistent battle for balance in our community, which at least was under control. The game today as it exists is a complete violation of the code. Historically, the street hustler was hip to the enemy and would never work in the government's interest to destroy their own life. Let me stop right there. Rick Ross has a quote in his song right now that says, "I'm selling dope on my iPhone." I'm gonna let y'all take a moment to think about that in relation to what Pac just said. Historically, the street hustler was hip to the enemy and would never work in the government's interest to destroy their own people. The thug life is a tool of the enemy as it exists today. It must change. Outside forces and methods whose interests are being served by the hustlers, the crew have no dignity. They have no honor, and this must be corrected. It's up to y'all to correct that, man. A council must be called to put a code to the thug life. We accept that the game will go on until our liberation. What we won't accept is that the game will destroy us from within before we get another chance to rumble and rebuild. If you ready to rumble and you ready to rebuild, put your hand in the air, man. The forces in an attempt to put the game back on track and work in the interest of the community and to resist the strategy of the government. They have begun setting down a platform for the street game in full effect. We praise their efforts. The code of the thug life must become a part of us on the East Coast as well. There must be a common denominator. The original gangsters behind the walls of the dungeon will take some responsibility to put in force to the council and the code. We must act now. The code of the thug life will save us to fight another day. If we don't, we assed out. Words from Tupac Shakur.
Word.
That was nice, Devin.
Word. So one of the things that stood out that was said in that piece was that he said the code of the thug life is a weapon that exists in the hands of our enemy and is being used against us. You know, Tupac, obviously he ushered in the whole thug life movement. And what I thought was interesting is that he acknowledged that it was a weapon that was being used against us.
Mm.
I think somewhere in being an entertainer, he might have either lost sight of that or didn't realize that. But at some point, it was acknowledged. I think that was a big part of that influence. I think was Mutulu Shakur as well. Was part of the Black Liberation Army, associated with the Black Panthers back in the day. You know what I mean? Tupac's mentor. Yeah, I mean Tupac played a major role in ushering in that whole thug movement. It led to a lot of street mentality that exists today. You know, but at the same time, in that piece, he acknowledged the fact that it was a weapon that was being used against us. So is the street code a weapon that's being used against us at this point? The street mentality, the street code, the street life?
That's almost a loaded question. Um, is it being used as a weapon? Yes. You know what I mean? Is it a weapon? Yes. When used properly, it's a weapon for prosperity. You know what I'm saying? When misused, it's a weapon for degradation. Um, is it being misrepresented and misused currently? Yes, to a gross level, and it's being done by a specific entity. You know, and again, me being from a different generation, Dredge, you're not too far behind me. You know, you are old enough to remember the shift. You know, where the conscious era just first the conscious era moved the party era out. The conscious era was so magnanimous that it created a big paradigm shift in culture and the intellect of culture. You know, it almost put us right back to kings and queens, man.
It
You
did.
know, gods and goddesses, man. The conscious era did that. You know, everybody knew something about who the people that we come from and professed it, man. You know, and we were doing big things in corporate America, and you know, 'cause we took the bull by the horn, so to speak, and that accountability that you spoke of. We became, as a people, we became accountable for the image of ourselves that we released to the world. Now, you know, the A&Rs and the record exec and the record owners, you know, they definitely saw the move being made, and they saw the power in the move, and they saw the money that it was generating. Because I mean, let's be frank, the entire world. I thought I turned that off. My bad. Excuse me, 1 second. That's my shit though. Okay, so I just got a text from Feek. Feek says organized crime has always been in our neighborhoods a long time. Shit's now different. Beast like. I wish he was here so he could expound on that. I don't know if I could do it justice. But yes, organized crime has always been in our neighborhoods. You know, shit's now different. I guess he's saying it's a lack of organization, a lack of Pete, come on, man, so you can explain that shit, man. Let that shit out, man. Let that nigga invite, man.
I said that. I said
You try, man. You fucked me all up with that one. But what I was saying, man, was
you know, I mean, he brought in a good point though, talking about
it's a strong
organized
point.
crime, because we don't want to skip over that. Like, Italian mafia influence plays a heavy role in what we define as street culture as well. We almost overlooked that point, but that's there was a
That's
whole
part of the
point in hip
music.
hop. Yeah, I was about to say there's a whole point in hip hop where everybody was imitating Italian gangsters and naming themselves
They
after
clicks after
Italian
that shit,
gangsters.
man. La Costa Nostra. That ain't
Well,
Italian.
we got a lot
You
more
get where I'm
gangs
going with
now.
it. They had Italian Muslims and shit. All kind of shit was jumping off, man. You know what I'm saying? Nas and them, they Biggie, Pop,
Right.
yeah, I mean the Wu,
Yep.
Jigga.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they built it off of the Italian mafia family type of crime.
hip hop always glorified wealth. And at some point that turned into glorifying rich white men, regardless of their background. It could have been Donald Trump, it could have been the Italian mafia.
Hey, Feek, stop playing, man. That was definitely a solid point, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate you for that, good brother. Wish you were here. I'm sorry.
Still getting texts?
No. He chilling there. He back on ice.
They seen Martin said your shirt is fire.
Say that one more time.
They seen Martin said your shirt is fire. And he put Unc. So that's your nephew?
What's the name?
Just look in the live chats. If you pull up your YouTube, pull this up on YouTube, you'll see the live chats. So I don't want you to lose your point though. You was making a point.
Well, the point I was making, was that we stopped caring about what our image was to the world. Well, we didn't even well, we had to know. Oh, my point was this. That's what my point was. Let's be fair. Let's be completely on point with this right here. The entire world mimics us
No,
culturally.
you was making a point.
So the point I was
I heard that.
making. Yeah, something happened there.
Did that you?
Nah,
Yeah,
it was
that,
just like a delay effect or
Okay.
something.
that was me.
That was
That was me on my other phone.
Oh, all right.
My
That
other
explains
phone,
that.
looking at the live chat. My other phone.
I'm very jump over to that right now.
I ain't really.
I think that was my point, Dre. Like, I mean, we just
All right, so when we talk about street code, right? This is my thing, man. Black people, or
Raheem Charity, you said. What fault, son?
Black people have always had a moral standard. No matter what we was doing, we always had traditionally some form of morale, some form of dignity, some form of integrity. And I think when illegal activities and black market activities began to become uh, more of commonplace, we took that morale with us to the best of our ability. And that later became known as street codes. If we do a crime together, don't snitch. I think some of that comes again out of the culture of organized crime, but I think generally speaking, we did our best to take our morality with us. So, what is the street code? Is there such thing as the street code? If so, what is it?
Okay, seen Martin.
Yo, cousin.
Y'all leaving me stranded out here, man. What's going on? Y'all got a multitask over there, man. We got a whole audience listening to us.
The street code applies to street people, man. You ain't in the streets. I don't know what to say to that, man.
All right, so let me say this: if you see somebody get killed, and the cops come ask you, "Do you see who did it?" Do you have any type of loyalty to say, "I'm not talking to the cops. I'm not"? That would be snitch. Would it be snitching if you said what you saw?
Hell yeah, that's snitching. I want to say I don't know who I seen. I don't know what happened.
Again,
but
that's a slippery slope, man.
You gotta go through it. That's the stuff you gotta go through for being around that type of stuff. You know, people get murdered out there in the streets. You in the streets, you better be like, you know.
You just said you not a street nigga. You not in them streets. So what loyalty do you have to any street code?
But I'm saying, if I'm in the streets and you said I witnessed something like that, I'm in the streets.
I'm talking about you.
Right.
You walking down the street and see somebody get killed.
Yeah, I'm walking down the street.
And the cops ask you to tell what you saw. Is that considered snitching?
Yep.
Hell yeah.
If one of your loved ones you see one of your loved ones get hurt, you mean to tell me you wouldn't if the cops asked you what you saw, or if you had to take it to the judge or the court,
listen,
you wouldn't say nothing?
He got to get dealt with.
So you is a street nigga then?
No. It don't take a street nigga
before you get dealt with.
You're going to become one then.
You get ready to be one.
No, hold up. You ain't got to be a street nigga to get dealt with.
You got to be a street nigga. You talking
do the dealing, right?
Yeah. You ain't got to do none of that. You can kill somebody and not be from the streets. That's a whole entirely another thing. I'm saying, no, I didn't see it. You got to ride with that type of stuff, though, if you out there in the streets, or you in the hood and stuff like that.
I'm confused now. I thought at first you told me that in order to be a street nigga, you got to be out there killing people, et cetera, et cetera. So if you see one of your loved ones get hurt and you go out there and deal with the person that hurt them, don't that by definition now make you a street nigga?
No, just because you dealt. I shot somebody before. I'm not a street nigga.
All right, well, we don't want this to become a Vlad TV episode.
Man, it can't be.
Don't incriminate yourself. Don't incriminate yourself.
Cousin, that's even near there. It can't be.
What we don't want to do is snitch on ourselves on this joint.
Hey.
Whoa.
Ain't that hey. If you gonna snitch, you gonna snitch on yourself. Fuck that.
No, you don't snitch. Ever.
You don't.
Ever.
But being as though I know my circumstance, my situation, my My situation, I could say it.
Okay. You got to deal with it. So, I mean, you know.
Hey,
Who am I to pass judgment
listen,
on you?
Somebody shot at us, we shot the fuck back.
So at that time, were you a street nigga?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm with you, Dread. I'm just fucking confused now.
I was like 23, 22, 21.
I love when Haas get. I love when Haas come on, man.
I was.
I love you, Haas. I swear to God.
Now, I'm not. And what they consider as a street nigga now, is not. I'm speaking from a modern perspective of a street nigga, and I'm trying to like, you know, get y'all to understand how they're thinking now. You know, the young boys now, they're thinking way different. How your generation, my generation, they a little bit different than my generation. They a little bit. I like this. Actually, the younger generation is a lot more thorough. They do a lot more thorough things, but it's just more, you know, violence and shit.
How is the younger generation more thorough? Break that down for me.
Because first of all, as you can see, it's a whole lot of gangs out here, right? There's a lot of gangs now. There's all types of names and misuse and gangs. You know what I mean? Mostly every rapper in the gang. You see gang behind the name of brand, whatever it is, the gang. I mean, if they real about, you know, what they doing, then it's really a street thing behind it. It's a gang, for real.
I'm waiting to get to the thorough part. How are they more thorough?
Now, as them being a gang, they look out for each other more. And I see people looking out for each other more now because they're a gang, they're a part of something, or they feel like they're part of something. You know, it's just, I see a lot more thorough things happening now. Before, like, put it like this. All the people, like, I just say the generation before me, or even my generation, it was just one artist coming out of Philly, and he blowing up, and he's just the artist. He don't want nobody else on, nobody else is getting on. Now, you got artists coming up, they putting everybody on, everybody getting money because they're a gang. And with that gang code, that mob code, that's still there. I see that more. So I see a lot of thorough stuff happening in that fashion, that way, as a mob style gang, you know, looking out for each other. That's how I look at it. Because before, people was more selfish than me. You know what I mean? They was more selfish to me in my generation. I see a lot of selfish people. Younger ones, I don't see a lot of selfish motherfuckers. Like these young guys, they don't care. They getting high, dude. They sharing, they love, whatever. Like they don't care. It's a less careless. You know what I mean? They ain't worried about the wrong shit unless it come to them, or you know, I don't know.
So you think street culture is better now than it was in the past?
Well, I would say I like the way it is now than what it was in my generation. That's what I'm saying. I don't know about all of the particulars. I know the particulars of these younger guys. And I like the way they move though. They do look out. It's levels. Is everybody? You ain't got a flea motherfucker getting on, fucking up an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Before you have old hot head in the group because he's the best rapper or the most drug dealer or the biggest drug dealer out of all of us. You know what I'm saying? He not just making the top from things. It's like a multiple of things he got to be doing.
So I see young boys wearing purses and belly shirts and dresses and smoking crack and
I mean, they ain't got nothing
sniffing
to
heroin
do
and
with
popping
thorough.
perks.
I got
That's
that
what I'm
question
saying.
in there, man.
They ain't got nothing to do with being thorough though.
What?
I got that question in there, Dre.
What?
They can get high.
What?
Did I say something, Dre?
They was thorough like that in the 60s and 70s too. When they was getting super high.
Yeah, but like that's true. I mean, you know, Coltrane and Miles and them was getting high back in the 60s and 70s.
And they wasn't thorough.
Still was making great music, but being a drug addict wasn't thorough still. I mean, it still wasn't thorough to be. They was thorough because they played instruments. They wasn't thorough because they was using drugs.
I don't see from that generation. I see. I mean, we talking about the artists and stuff like that. You didn't see many people around them either. Who all they was pulling up? Who came under their umbrella?
So you saying that's what
There's
made
no
this
parallel, Hassan.
I think the drugs is giving them a less, a careless, more of a careless level, like a more fuck it in a system. It's more fuck it in a system than it was before. That's it. Fuck it. You get on, get some money. They don't care. They getting high. They just living. They don't know if they're gonna die day tomorrow. Get your money. I'm getting my money. I'm gonna get on. They just like don't. It's free. It's like it's freedom there as long as it's loyalty, integrity, morals is there. You know, you just see before we had morals, we had a lot of perverts getting on. Elvis Presley going with 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds, and all that. You got a whole lot of perverts that grew up back then. That was stars back then too. Right? Doing a lot of crazy nut shit. You see less of that now, though.
Really?
You do.
There's less perverts in the game now?
Who ain't even nobody old enough to be a pervert.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? These niggas having sex with each other. They ain't gotta get preyed on no more. They doing that shit by choice. Well, see, I had that question. Is the gay culture affecting the street code?
Uh-oh.
No.
You said no, Haas?
You said is the gay culture affecting the street code?
Yeah.
No.
It makes me think about the movie, that series, The Wire.
I ain't really watched that.
Homo Thug was the toughest nigga in the whole joint.
I heard about it. I never really watched it. I don't even watch TV. So
you think a lot of these young boys that's into the street culture today are have been touched or might be in the closet or whatever, on the down low, whatever have you?
Oh, that's a strong statement, son.
I think they just consider fashion. Fashion is different, man. It's like we want to talk about fashion and what they putting on and stuff. That's just a whole nother world. Like, because everybody not into fashion like that. I mean, but some people follow those fashion trends. I mean, and that's what that is. They figure like I could be, that's gangster them. They could be like them or put that shit on, and the next minute be punching somebody's teeth out on the scene, shooting somebody with the purse on. That's or whatever the fanny pack, having that shit on and shoot somebody just look crazy. Like, damn, don't fuck with that dude. That boy, you know, he looks sweet, but he ain't. That's what type of shit they on now. They want to look sweet. They want to feel like, you know, I don't know.
We called that homo thug.
Homo. No, pause. Let me say this, man. Right? Let me say this. No matter how much of a fan,
Haas breaking it down, ain't he?
Haas, this is what he do. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you came on today, Haas. I am, man. I'm glad it's good to see you, man. I miss you, man. Real talk. I'm probably the biggest critic against how these young cats is dressing. You know what I mean? Attire don't make your sexuality. Is what I had to accept with that, because it's fly to them. You know what I'm saying? The girls is looking, the girls like it, and they get chicks. My nephew Kasim, told me, because I asked him, he told me, man, if you ain't dressed like that, you ain't gonna get no rhythm. I said, pull a bunch of money out. You gonna get all the rhythm in the world. Okay, what you got on? You know what I'm saying? But that's their thing, man. You know what? I had to learn to ease up on them about that, man. As androgynous as I think it looks, that don't mean they gay. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean they masquerading their sexuality, nothing like that. I mean, you know, I ain't gonna put that on them. Not on a tire.
All right, well, this is what I'll say to that.
I wouldn't wear it, but
most of your most popular designers are homosexual white males.
Agree.
When we was coming up, you had different black clothing designers, Carl Kanai, Rockefeller, Sean John, Fat Farm. And far be it for me to say, some of them dudes might have been gay, but nonetheless, it appealed more to uh, black culture, where now you have one particular set of standard,
Yeah,
one
but you know
particular
what?
standard.
You know what though, son? I hear you on that. But there was also cats is also out here rocking Louis and Gucci and Prada. You know what I mean?
I mean, but when we was coming up, even with rocking Gucci and all that, everybody went to Dapper Dance to have their shit tailor made because Gucci wasn't making the shit the way we
But
wanted
that
it
was
to
the
wear.
overly baggy era. Everybody's running around with shit that was too big for them. That was the style. It's like everybody running
Right.
around with shit that's too little
I'm
for them.
looking at the live shit.
It was just the style, man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, again, my point is that a lot of your most popular designers are homosexual white men. So the question becomes, who's who's design? Is it by design or is it accountability? You know what I mean, who's actually creating these trends? Is it us?
Wow.
I think are we just making the trend popular? And somebody else is creating it for us to make it popular?
Oh, that's exactly what's happening. They channeled into how to use our energy for profit. So that's exactly what's happening. This is not it's not really our idea. You know what I mean? To run around with too small clothes on, think because it looks cool to you. I think it's a deeper psychosis behind that as well. It's high price clothing, and the more expensive you look, the more expensive you feel, or you've escaped your condition through your clothing. You know what I mean? Like you still come home to the a negative environment, but you do it in order to have expensive clothes on because it makes you feel better. That's my honest opinion of it. You know,
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. They want to wear stuff that's considered valuable.
no, it comes
Which
down
again,
to you want to escape. You want to escape your condition on any
right.
level. I mean, and that's a tangible level. That's something you can tangibly do. What I wish would happen from that is all the energy and resources they put into getting that's put into getting that and making that so important. Reinvest that into ourselves and our community and our children, and let's take this motherfucker over.
Crystal Marshall said a lot of gang members go to jail and
Yeah, I
come
read
out
that.
gay in the
Mm-hmm.
closet out. And a lot of rappers are now gay in this rapper initiation. So that's a good point too. Like a lot of people. That's a big part of our culture as well. A lot of people go into the prison system and don't come out the same as they did when they went in, and that integrates itself into our street culture as well. What you think about prison culture being integrated into street culture? Your point there?
Absolutely. Um, I don't know why we focus so much on the gay thing, but
I mean, when we talk about
it's
pants
real.
sagging,
It's real. It's there's
we,
there's there's reality to it. Like I'm not saying that, but
when we talk about pants sagging, that they say pants sagging comes out of prison culture, right?
oh, well, it used to mean that you were available. That's what I was taught, that it meant that you were available.
What you think about pants sagging, Haas? Your
I
ass
don't know.
hanging out.
I think that was something integrated from from prison into the streets. But
I
when I
disagree with
think
that
about
too.
it, you should. I know you supposed to not have your pants down. Shit. I mean, I don't know what to think about it. I don't hang around people with their pants down. Nobody do that no more. That's the old dress style. If it did, it did. It came and went.
Yeah.
I don't see nobody doing that shit.
These young boys
I'm
is
glad
definitely.
I don't. That shit look a
Hey,
mess.
Haas, what you say, Haas? You know you ain't supposed to have your pants down.
that era came and went too. That
Oh
pants
man.
sagging shit. That came and went.
Yeah, I would say this, man. You know what I mean? We traditionally break the rules of any game. You know what I mean? We own it, we rewrite it, man. That's what we do. We make lemonade, man. You know what I mean? And that's one of them things. I it's not something I ever like. I tease the shit out of my son and all his friends for that shit, man. You know what I mean? But it doesn't define you as an individual. However, the image of that can define the culture, and I think that's what we're not paying attention to. I mean, that allows a certain mindset to be projected and a certain, response, if you will, that's going to befall the people who look like or the people who are living in that culture. You understand what I'm saying? That's what got Trayvon killed, right? Because he had a hoodie on like you got on right now. So that meant that he was menacing.
That's the story they gave.
Right. So, I mean, I think the narrative plays a big part in that. And for the record, I'm gonna pound the shit out of y'all young niggas with them tight ass clothes on, man. Y'all need to go on.
Yes, that's why I can't find.
I
I
need to
can't
get
see
over
how
that
they
shit.
pants at.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, that's y'all thing. I ain't hating. Yeah, I mean,
I can't see how they pants sag when all our clothes is fitted nowadays. Everything
it
is
just looks
fitted.
funny to me, man. You know what I mean? In my era, we had a tight era too, man. You know what I'm saying? Not
I was
like
gonna say that.
not like
A lot
them.
of young boys will bring up pictures of like
Earth, Wind, and
Grandmaster
Fire.
Flash and the Furious Five,
Yeah, but we didn't dress like that.
Prince, Osley Brothers. You
We
know what I
did
mean?
not dress like that. We wasn't walking around the street looking like that. Them niggas were entertainers on stage. I never understood why they put that shit on either. You know what I'm saying? But we didn't wear it as a fashion statement. We wasn't running out here looking like Prince and all that shit. You know, not the average cat. Don't get me twisted. We had cats in the hood that was
You had a
looking like.
couple. You had a couple flamboyant dudes who was.
We still got a couple flamboyant dudes. One comes to mind, man. You know what I mean? He just a fly nigga though. In all fairness, man. Like you know what I mean? He wears some shit I would never wear, but the shit fly. He pulls it off. You know what I mean? And will fight the shit out you too. So like that's just his thing. Some cats that's just their thing, man. And I would say this too. In our era, we had a tad bit more individuality. Everybody wasn't looking the same.
So in terms of street culture, Haas spoke on this briefly. What is this whole thing about it being cool to get high? As far as like using hard drugs, like that was being a junkie was never cool in my generation. Like if you was a junkie, you was a junkie. But now it's like you could be a straight junkie. That's the cool thing. Like, you know what I mean? What you think about that, Haas?
I think back then, and compared to now, them getting high, they not doing heroin at the top of the game. They had they had some most, our biggest artists out there, displaying that type of shit, that type of acts and on hard drugs.
That's what are you talking about? They got
back
songs
then.
about drinking syrup.
Now they're drinking syrup, popping pills, smoking weed. Ain't nobody shooting up. Nobody I see snorting, but I'm pretty sure there is.
What about the Wiggles?
Huh?
What about the Wiggles?
PCP?
Yeah. What about the wet heads out here, man? That's almost the equivalent of heroin in the 60s.
Shit, the wet heads be stuck. They not going nowhere.
What I'm saying is almost the equivalent of the heroin addicts in the 60s and the 70s. What about the niggas that smoke the K2?
PCP is. That's a bad drug. That's hard.
What about the Tukey?
That should be hard too. That should kill people.
Right. They just switched the drug, man.
But people that can't smoke weed, they gonna smoke Tukey and all that shit, I guess.
Why? That's what he's asking you.
Because you got some people that's...
Why is it so important to get high or to be known for getting high? Fucked up. Ass high.
Because if you ain't getting high, you ain't getting by. Man, there's really no excuse for these dudes. Get up for these dudes.
My guy, I'll tell you. I appreciate you in ways you could never understand.
Yo, Haas logic is a different. Haas logic is a different type of logic.
You ain't gonna be cool with your pants. You ain't supposed to have your pants down, right, Haas?
Man, you ain't getting high, man. Ain't nobody trusting you, man.
Hey.
You better do some type of drug. You ain't smoking weed or nothing. Shit.
But you ain't even trustworthy out here in these streets if you don't get high or something, huh?
They ain't got no.
So the street code is completely fucked up then.
I can't see a sober motherfucker doing a bunch of thorough shit. You haven't seen a sober. You haven't seen a sober thorough person.
Wait. You fucking with us right now?
You ever seen a person that don't get high thoroughly? Shit?
Well, is this what y'all really talk about, Haas? You fucking with me right now, right?
You haven't seen a sober motherfucker do some thorough shit though. Never did drugs. He's just a thorough motherfucker.
I did some thorough shit earlier today.
You smoke weed.
I wasn't smoking then. I was sober.
Yo, seriously though, somebody that never did some drug, none of that, and they make it in this game. I don't even know no sober artists.
I think that's our whole point.
That might be part of the problem, Haas.
A little bit.
I'm saying, hey, guess what? There's more people in the game than it was.
Okay.
Huh?
It's time to get off of that.
You gotta put it.
That might be a good segue for the power within yourself, right there.
Yeah,
more people I'm scared to bring up right now than it was.
So, Haas, you saying most of the niggas in the game right now are Bohemian?
I ain't saying that.
Okay.
Bohemian, man, that's deep. Bohemian, that's deep. that's African Bambaataa and all the politicians.
Ain't on that level?
No.
All right. Well, there's hope for the street code then. As long as they ain't Bohemian, we good. So yeah, man, all right, let's shift gears, man. Like, I can talk to Haas all night, man.
Haas taking us all the way down the rabbit hole, ain't he?
Way deep in the rabbit hole. Glad ain't no Fox behind us.
Yeah, I don't even know how to follow that up, man. Haas,
there is no follow up.
Haas said, if you ain't getting high, you ain't getting by. Then he said, I ain't making no excuse for these niggas. Then he said, if you ain't getting high, you ain't capable of doing thorough shit. And before all that, he said, I know better than to have my pants down.
That's what he said. That's a great recap, bro.
Yeah.
And the girl said, you better stop throwing bricks at the goddamn penitentiary.
She said what?
Crystal Marshall said, is he trying to get 3 meals in the cop? That's what she wants to know. Yeah,
and Haas, and his most famous one was, you gonna snitch, you might as well snitch on yourself. You say that?
That's what tell on yourself. You gonna die.
What?
Yeah, you gonna tell you gonna die.
Yo,
I got some shades on, man.
Yeah. Haas got some quotables for you, boy. Haas got some quotables. So, all right, man. I think we covered this whole street thing. I mean, really, it seemed like the conversation. This is a conversation that can go many different directions, man. You know what I mean? And we kind of just scratching the surface at the same time while exploring the topic. I like to approach things from a solution-oriented standpoint as well. What's the solution to some of the things that we discussed tonight?
Right.
Well,
That's what I'm trying to get down to. I'm trying to get to a solution.
right. So for starters, I'm gonna say, a redirection of the narrative, is definitely needed. You know what I mean? I often think, man, with all the wealth, all the success that black people have in America, why don't we have more ownership in everything, man? Like, and especially the stuff that we make popular. It's like buying stock in what you use. If you as it's explained to me, Feek explained this to me. If you wear Nike, man, why should you buy stock in Nike, Levi, True Religion, whatever, whatever designer you wear? If you frequent it, why should you own stock in it? When I think about the music industry, like, why isn't that run by black people? We have the wealth. We got enough money to really buy them out. You know what I mean? So yeah, redirection of the narrative.
I think when it comes to the street mentality, I think the streets is a myth. I think the streets promote a certain level of tribal war and loyalty to environments and streets and blocks and projects, stuff that we don't own or have any type of stake in realistically. The whole street mentality of I kill a nigga and I'll do this and I'll do that. At the same time, when the cops pull up on the corner, everybody scatter, everybody run. You know what I'm saying? That's bitch made to me. But that's what the streets, illustrate. I think I think it's a myth. I don't think we have any real power, any real financial stake. We're not making no money off the properties. We don't have any power in terms of policing. We don't grow our own food on the land in which we live. I mean, what do we have that we can claim as our own to the point where we can say, I'm from this. I'm from the streets. This is mine. So much so that we're willing to kill somebody else a couple blocks over. You know what I mean? That's from a different street or from a different neighborhood. How can you be loyal to a block that the city owns? How can you be loyal to a project building that you don't own? To a house that you don't have any property on? And again, when I go out in the suburbs, they have these things. They grow gardens, they own their property. They don't approach it with that same tribal mentality that I think through various means of poverty and poor education, poor funding, a lack of proper food being made available, our grocery stores and our convenience stores are half-assed. I think all these things contribute to a mentality that keeps us trapped and limited. So we don't grow up thinking about becoming doctors, lawyers, scientists, and or whatever other profession you might choose to want to explore. We tend to grow up with this mentality that that's not for us because that's not where we from. I go out to the suburbs. These students in the suburbs, they got whole track fields. You know what I mean? They're out there playing lacrosse and soccer. You know what I mean? Starting out at young ages. They're already being groomed towards thinking successfully,
Exactly.
towards valuing themselves.
Exactly.
Where we grow up as youth, or we thinking about survival. Before we even pass through puberty, we already thinking about survival, surviving out here in these streets. So even if it's not your choice to want to be in the streets, you're still affected by it. When I walked to school in the morning, I had to step over crack vials, walk to school. So even if you're not in the streets, so to speak, you're still affected by it. I think it's long overdue, like you said, that we either redefine and reshift or reclaim the narrative, or do away with it altogether. It really, at this point, what purpose does it serve? Consider ourselves thugs, niggas, and street niggas, and all these other terms that have been projected that we have now learned to perpetuate. What is it doing for us at this point? is not holding any value, is not building us up or helping us to expand our thought process, then it has to either be refashioned or redesigned or done away with altogether. And that includes all these different gangs and all of that. Like if the gangs are not productive, what's the point?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this, man. I agree with you 100%, man. Extremely well said. I appreciate that perspective. I think it's necessary. Um, and you mentioned the gang culture, man. As I understand it, the gang culture came out of protection of your environment. You understand what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah.
did good things, man. They fed the people that wasn't eating, that weren't able to go out here and get food. There's a lot of negativity that came with that too. I'm not going to say because the essence was lost. Is what I want to say. And I think that happens to us far too often, man. We lose the essence of why things began, and in that loss, man, we allow other people to come in, like what you just said, man, start defining it for us. So yeah, I agree with you 100%, bro. That's well said. I can't really add any more positive words to that for sure.
Crystal Marshall said, solution is for gangs to band together to achieve legitimate wealth, change what they value and realize you are valuable and find out why we are superior in our worth.
That's strong. So that brings me to a question I had also, man, that I wanted to throw in there at you, man, in particular. You know,
Phone died.
has the decline of religion or slash spirituality aided in the degradation of street codes?
Yeah, we touched on this in our conversation, man. You asked me about that, and I said, yo, I honestly think, in some ways, religion has contributed to what we know as street culture. See, like you said, man, street culture started out one way. It started out, I think, as an act of rebellion against some of the norms in society, against status quo, and then it became something else. Then what ended up happening is a lot of the pimps and people that was exposed to street cultures started moving over into the churches.
Mm.
Some of that stuff spilled over. And so now you got a preacher man that's well versed in street artistry. And he's able to use some of those same manipulation techniques in the pulpit. And I think that spirituality and biblical teachings have the power to add a high level of morale to our community. But at the same time, when it's mishandled and misused, it can contribute to the very same uh, destruction that is designed to speak against in some cases.
Say the
You know,
last
it,
part again.
I
Designed
think
to do
that
what?
I think that it has the potential to contribute to our morale, but when it's mishandled and misused, it can contribute to the very same negative things that we're discussing. You know what I mean? The church is definitely at a hand in just as much just as much of a hand in perpetuating certain dysfunctions as it has in terms of helping a lot of people heal.
I agree.
Depending on the church, depending on the environment, depending on the people involved.
I agree. I agree. I just would only add to that I mean, even with that, there still was a different order than what I see out here today.
True.
So on that alone is what I would base it on. You know what I mean? Difference. What I would base the difference as.
Well, again, churches were different back in the day than they are now. Like
But they had
it
some
wasn't,
gangsta ass preachers too, though.
yeah, it
Like I
wasn't
mean,
all
certain
about
certain shit just wasn't going down.
right. And
You
it
know what I'm
wasn't all
saying?
it wasn't as much about money as it was about morale at one point. Now it's more about money. And so
It's all about money now. I get what you're saying.
So when I turn on the gospel station on Sunday, I'm hearing trap music. Just with the lyrics just changed up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Christian culture is now trying to emulate street culture, which
Well,
is some
I mean,
weird shit.
I think it's a progression. I think it's a progression. You know, it's kind of like when we had the conscious music, man. You know, a little bit different because of the narrative. You pushing an extreme mindset. You know what I mean? But you learn that it's easy to push through music and it's profitable. So why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? You know, you gotta reach the people where they at. So if we gotta change the beat up and keep the message what it is, then I really don't have an issue with that. Um, having said that, and I'm all about the message, man. So like having having said that, like yes, it's funny as hell to hear gangster rap gospel artists.
Hmm.
That's a twisted dichotomy in itself. You know what I mean? So but if I look deeper, are they just using the medium to try to uh balance things out?
Well, I mean, I'm sure if you asked them, that's exactly what they would say.
Right.
But I mean, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with power, you don't really got to use gimmicks and tricks to attract your audience. You know, Crystal Marshall says spirituality and religion are very different. I think that's a good point.
Um, I think spirituality is high religion. I think religion, if I'm defining it, it's a practice that enhances your spirituality. So, yeah, they're different. They're viewed differently. But again, that's just the visionary tactics, man, that are put on us by our oppressors, man. To confuse us. I hope I didn't confuse us.
Yeah, I know. My thing is this, man. I've lived enough years where I've seen, I've seen what it looks like in the black community when religion. We've had Christianity, we've had Islam, we had the Hebrew Israelites, we had all this going on in our communities. You know what I mean? And in a lot of ways, like I said, street culture intertwined with that. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And those things that we call in street culture kind of contaminated what we call in right now, what we refer to as religion. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about that in our Nation of Islam conversations. Like you're not going you're not going to get me to overlook the fact that street culture in the Nation of Islam was like hand in hand at one point.
hey man, I'm gonna say this, man. I remember when the Fruit, man, one of the most notorious projects in Philadelphia at the time, Abbotsford Projects, man, completely out of control. Police couldn't go in there and do nothing.
Huh.
No law enforcement could go in there and stop anything. Bunch of brothers from the Nation of Islam, the Fruit of Islam, went in there with no weapons and shut that bitch down. You understand what I'm saying? So they had the respect and they was willing to go, the full Monty in order to do that. You know what I mean? Law enforcement ain't really give a fuck, man. You know what I'm saying? So in that respect, and respect to some, some true, real, live, men that was in the pulpit, man, that was like, listen, certain things you're just not going to do here. And if I have to, I'll bust your ass. You know what I mean? So in that respect, yeah, that part is gone. And the preacher would have to go out here and shoot somebody, to get respect. You know what I mean? So I feel what you were saying earlier too, House. We had a lot of fun with it, man. But it's very valid perspective. You know what I mean? It helps me understand things that I see on a daily basis and why they are what they are. You know, so yeah, yeah. I think also in our culture right now, man, there's just like it's a paradox. because it seems like that there's a loss of male influence. On the other side, male influence is on the rise. You know what I mean? So it's like it's weird, man. It's a weird space. These kids, I mean, these young men have been so I want to say feminized, but that's too strong of a word to use. The feminine energy has been put in them so deeply, man, that it kind of convoluted their perception of how to go about things. You know what I mean? They became very emotional. They're very emotional, and but it's changing. I see it changing. I see it changing because now they have children. You know what I mean? And they don't want their sons to be soft. And I'm not saying they are, but you know, I just think men kind of disappeared for a little while, and it was just like single black mothers only. Big up the single black mothers for the job they've done. You know what I mean? But when you got, I use myself as an example, man. When my daughter was staying with me full time, man, it was crazy for me because I knew there were certain connections I couldn't make with her. You know what I'm saying? I knew with certain things I just wouldn't understand. And I didn't want to be in a position where I was being charged with trying to create or raise a woman, something I've never been. So what I'm saying is I knew that I had a deficiency and I was going to need, a lot of help or a lot of assistance. In our communities, that became a non-topic for black women. It became a badge of honor for them to raise their children by themselves, for whatever reason. You know what I mean? You can't create men. A woman can't raise a man. You know what I'm saying? Just can't. There's things that she can't prepare him for. You know what I mean? I think that has a big, or plays a big part, and why we are where we are with that.
I think it's a domino effect that's leading up to what we have going on today.
Excuse me for 1 second. I hear you though. Go ahead, keep talking, bro.
Yeah, I think it's a domino effect. What you think, Haas?
Mm-mm. See, I can't speak on the domino because I really, I only can speak for my generation and, after really, before, like, you could give me more information on that. So I don't know if it's a domino effect for sure. I don't know. But I think, you know, it's really hard to say, man. Like Seven said earlier, man, shit is in a weird space too. It's just weird, you know.
You, you
It's
think
everywhere.
growing up? You think growing up in a single parent household? You think that's too much of a burden for a single woman to have to raise a boy into a man?
Yeah, I think you need a man to raise a boy. So
How do you think that plays a role in what we know today is street culture and some of the disorder that we're witnessing?
nah,
You don't think
no,
absence of black men in the community has anything to do with it?
I'm pretty sure it does at some point. At some percentage of it. It's not. I don't think it might be everything. I don't think it's everything because we've been having that problem for a long time.
So what do you think we can do to solve some of these ills, Haas?
Man, first we gotta get the oppressor to ease up all. You gotta think about the oppressor. This is coming from the oppressor. You know
Who's
what I
who,
mean?
who's the oppressor?
The man, the one who control everything, make these decisions to put, the motherfuckers who rig the game and rig these industries and make it hard for us to come up.
So how do we get them to ease up? What needs to happen for that to happen?
We got to do our own shit. We got to do our own independence. We got to be independent out here more. I mean, that's anyway in Philadelphia, man. You got to be an entrepreneur, independent person, you know, and let that. I think it starts there, being independent, you know, and just handling your business. You know, when you look for other people for help, you got your hand out and shit. You ready to? You probably fall for anything. You liable to fall for anything if you just, on that type time.
So we got to do for self, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
How about the school system? Do you think that poor education, public schools, coming up in these public schools, do you think that contributes to the street mentality?
Nah. I went to a good public school, so I don't know. I haven't been in no bad public school. I went to Wayne Penn. I went to Started Flashing. You know what I mean? They was good. It was a good school, good teachers and stuff like that. You know, I don't know. Public school, I thought, man, I don't know what. I don't know how we could come up with. Ain't no solution for this, man. Ain't no
You know,
solution.
solution.
As long as the streets out here, man, ain't no solution. If that's all they see, I mean, we could say the fathers, the single parent, we could say that part. And, the influencers, people who inspire people to do what they do. It could be that, you know. It could be a whole lot of stuff, dog. Right now, I just don't see it as just being a single parent household, and that's the solution of it.
Right. But you will say that ultimately you feel like we got to start doing for self more and
Yeah,
stop depending on
other
other people.
resources. Yeah, and that makes you a man. You know, shit, you gotta handle your own responsibility, your business. Nobody can run it for you. You the only one that know it, and then have to have the attentions behind that. You know what I mean? So that's what I see, like the gang culture, or you want to say just the culture pair alone. I see that the motherfucking gangs and the people that they don't. It's like, man, they rather look at their brothers and all, like they family, parents, and like they family not into what they into. So it's just like being a single parent. That don't even matter. It don't even matter at home, because when they come out in the streets and they raise them, I mean, you in the streets for a certain amount of time, you doing things in the street, you getting influenced by them. So I don't think it matters if you got two parents at home or not, either. Whatever
So is
you
that,
into, and that's
I think
whatever's
it matters if
influenced
you
you.
have good parents, be them single or whatever. You know what I mean?
well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Haas's point, there are countless examples of young people that come from two parent households where the parents say they did everything right and the child still got caught up in the
And
streets.
still got caught up, guns, drugs,
Yeah, but that's
but you
not the
had
norm.
but you had it all. I mean,
That's
that
not the
is the
norm.
norm. I always see people that have it all.
Nah,
They done
that's the
got dirt
demographic.
bikes at 12, 13. They done got the whole world. They got motherfuckers ain't got, when they like 18, 20, they had all that extra phones and everything, but they go outside and, shoot somebody over it. And then,
Well,
like,
again,
good parents and all.
so again, for me, that's why I would say my generation failed y'all, because everything you just mentioned was a material possession.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that we overcoddled. We became we worried more about what our kids looked like and what they had instead of giving them integrity. You know what I'm saying? But for that statement, there are 2 million more that where that positive parenting worked out, because we have what tons more millionaires than we had when I was growing up. You know, tons more CEOs. You know, collectively, we've done more. Our women have outperformed everybody in the world. You know what I mean? And all that comes from sound, parenting and sound households. So I think sometimes, man, we just kind of focus on the negative as what defines us, and that's a grave injustice that we do to ourselves. If only negative things make us cool, make us accepted, make us stand out, so people like us, then we in a sick place, man.
So I got a question. Do you think do our women, our black, our black females out there is being used to oppress the men? Because you got females out here expect you to pay their half of the rent. They starving, whatever. And these guys going out here doing all these things and are thinking they got to do all these things, to acquire them, or have certain things to get the female. So do you think a lot of the females are being used?
Females are being used absolutely to oppress us. No,
Okay.
maybe to jade our vision a little. You know what I mean? But what happened was, by design, she was supplanted into a male's role. So that only left one other role for the male to go to on that level. And I think that you should pay half, if not all, of the rent, utilities. You know what I mean? Whatever, because
If you live together, you talking about if you live together. I think he was talking about separate households.
Yeah.
oh no, that makes no sense. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Oh yeah, that makes no sense. I mean,
But you
Oh,
got females pressing, like I just seen on Facebook, oh, you broke. If you ain't paying the rent, it doesn't matter. He don't matter if he ain't paying the rent and stuff like that. And
so I'll
that's
say this
like,
to the guys. Last time I checked, is my video breaking up?
now
no,
you
you
good?
good.
Okay. Last time I checked, women outnumbered men on the planet Earth by an alarming number. So the women that's saying that, just leave them where they at and go after something else.
I want to revisit that question. Are women being used to oppress us?
Okay.
I want to tie that into this conversation with street culture because I was talking to some of my peoples from Baltimore, some of my OGs from Baltimore, and he was saying how, like, in the drug game back when he was coming up in the 80s and 90s, one of the primary reasons why a lot of people sold drugs was to impress women. That's what women that's what the women like to see, so that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us back to that question. Are women being used to oppress us? I would have to say, in some ways, the ones that are susceptible and that are gullible to certain things are being puppeteered in ways that contribute to our oppression on the whole.
Yeah.
Again, a very convoluted topic. Oppress us? No. Confuse us? Yes.
I'm confused now. They didn't confuse us. They didn't oppress us.
They can't
That's how
oppress
I
us.
put it.
They
That's
can't
how I
oppress
put it.
us.
If they confusing us, they oppressing us.
No,
How? If
because
you
they
doing any type of distraction, you
because
there to oppress me.
they're not the puppeteers. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you're that easily distracted, then
The way women use the system, man, they are puppeteers.
they're not oppressing us. We're you know
They
the
use
white
the
the white
system
man
to
is
oppress
oppressing
us.
us, brother. The white man is oppressing us.
Yeah, at
At
the
the head of all
ultimately.
that shit is the white man. It's the white man sitting there.
But you do agree that they are being used as puppets?
Yes, to confuse us, not to oppress us.
I put them two in the same category. If you there to confuse me, you're with the op.
I said it's all one and the same to him.
I hear him.
So you mean to tell me, listen, you going to war with me or whatever, and you capture a person that's neutral. You know, you capture a person that's neutral, but they're saying, and that person is not there for you. So ultimately, what you think was going to happen? I'm saying, like, you going to trust that person?
So I'm going to say this, I trust myself. But I'm going to say this before anything else, man. Like, I'm going to take it to the game of chess, man.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when your queen gets captured?
What happened when your queens get captured? I don't know.
You still got to play the role as king.
Right. And you go get another queen. So if a queen is leading you down a negative road, go ahead and let her get captured and go get yourself another queen.
You make that sound so simple, but on a board of chess, you don't just go get another queen. Like,
of course you do.
You gotta get all the way across the other end of the board.
You're gonna go through some things, but if you're determined to get that queen, you're gonna get another. You're gonna create another queen.
So let's be fair with the.
Sometimes you use your queen as the decoy. Because the average cat, it's a lesson in this. The average cat is so enamored with the female that he's scared to lose her. You know what I'm saying? So now she becomes the apex piece on the board, and you forget about who running shit.
I mean, the difference is chess is a game and life ain't a game.
Neither is chess.
So
chess is an exercise, sir.
Yeah, but my point is chess is a game where you can put the pieces away and put it in your closet.
Yeah, but
real life is a little more complex.
You never stop playing it here.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, to be fair about the question, are black males being used to oppress black people?
Are black males being used to oppress people?
Black people.
I'm gonna say they're being used to confuse people as well. Mm-hmm. There's only one oppressor. Yeah. History will tell you who that is. You don't have to hear it from my mouth. I don't want to get us in too much trouble. But history will tell you who the oppressor has been.
I see your point.
Everybody else is just a tool.
I see your point. And to Haas' point, Haas saying is that if you a tool that's being used, then you one and the same. You know what I mean? The sword is the same as the swordsman.
Well, if the swordsman loses the sword, he's no good. He's not effective.
I see your point as well. Right.
This becomes your sword.
Right. I see your point.
Mm-hmm. That becomes your sword. So you never stop playing. You never stop playing, man.
Right.
Just as an exercise. As life is an exercise, man. And we gotta have, exercises to make ourselves strong. You know what I'm saying? And able to deal with what's coming at us. Because yes, chess is a game and so is life.
Indeed.
You just gotta play to win, brother.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so for me, I think sometimes, man, importance is just placed in the wrong areas, man. I think we place our importance in areas that are not going to be beneficial to us, not going to serve us well. And then that becomes, how we deal with shit instead of dealing with it from a point of ration.
So, B.L.A.M said the average cat think he the woman.
Say that one more again.
B.L.A.M said the average cat think he the woman.
That's what it seems to have come to. Theoretically.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in a lot of cases too, a lot of women have begun to think they the man in those role reversal type situations.
Yeah, well, when I say this is not well received, man, but from where I'm sitting at, man, females became the new males and males became the new females, man, proverbially. You know what I'm
Well, I
saying?
mean, now you talking about that Willie Lynch theory.
Oh, that's where it starts at. Whether it's true or whether it's not. Look at the fallout. Look at the outcome of it.
Right.
Look at the tree that grew.
Yeah,
It
for
would
those that
explain.
don't know, Google Willie Lynch, Willy, Lynch,
Mhm.
Lynch, and read that Willie Lynch
Googling.
theory. Huh?
Googling.
Google it, yeah. Um, John Locale says that was all Hollywood and stop there.
What was all Hollywood?
Yeah, John, if you can elaborate on that so we can come back to your point. That was all Hollywood and stop there. We wanna touch on that. So if you can just elaborate. Crystal Marshall said we have all been manipulated by the system one way or another.
Facts. That's because we don't know that we can manipulate the system. We should know that, but we don't. And if we do, we don't employ it. Quid quo pro.
Word. So Double L Leach, Low Life Leach said, "What up, Bones?" So Bones was my name in high school. Like how I said, at one point maybe he might have considered himself in the streets. I don't know if I've really ever really considered myself in the streets, but if you talking about certain behaviors and certain experiences, that time where my nickname was Bones, I probably was more active in the streets, not necessarily from a criminal standpoint, but just in terms of just spending more time outside than indoors. You know what I mean? And my nickname at the time was Bones. And Double L Leach, that's who does Leach Man Print and Press. So you want your
I'm gonna come
t-shirts,
holler at you, bro.
yeah,
I'm trying to do
yeah.
something with this.
I'm supposed to be getting a print machine my damn son.
Yeah,
First,
I want to do with this, man. I need, I'm gonna holler at you. I'm gonna get your information. Matter of fact, you gave it to me.
I
That's
gave you his information.
You gave it to me. I'll be calling you soon, good brother. But did he
Yeah,
expound
so
on? Did he expound on that statement?
uh, the statement he made about what? Oh, you
Leach?
talking about John?
Oh, that's a different guy. I'm sorry.
Messaging from our artists makes it the thing to do. Yeah, so from what I'm gathering, he talking about like what we talking about earlier about how music has become the soundtrack, pretty much Hollywood, the music, all this, I mean the movies, whenever you go on Netflix and you turn on a black movie, it's gonna be some type of crime, some type of gangster, some type of crack. You know what I mean?
Or some extreme comedy.
Man, I'm
Yes.
seeing a lot of gay shit on TV, man. When I do get a chance to look at TV, man, I'll be like, what the fuck am I watching? Every time I turn, like, what is this? I be looking, who turned this on, man? That's why I don't watch TV, man. I don't like to be programmed. Shit. Fuck that.
Waha's always come out of nowhere with just the illest quotables, just out of left field with the shit.
My guy. That's all I got.
Go ahead,
Man.
Haas. Go ahead, I'm giving you some shine. Go ahead, take it.
I just wanted to say that, man. I'm like, yo, like lately you turn, as soon as you turn around, you turn the TV on. It's like you can't go through channels without seeing a gay thing happening. I remember they didn't never show nothing gay on TV like that. You know what I mean? Even like directly like that, man. But now you can see it, you could turn to a channel, a dude kissing a dude. And I'm like, man, this is regular TV. This is like a episode. Motherfuckers, what like The Wire? Like, how do you make that cool for everybody to watch? You had a gay person running the streets.
So that speaks to an agenda. That speaks to a bona fide agenda. And yeah, I definitely don't want them on our back, man. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody has a right to, be integrated in society. I'm not a fan of it. You know what I mean? From a non-judgment placement, I'm not a fan of it at all. I don't, and I don't like to see every movie or every show I see be shrouded in drug selling and all the other negative aspects of my community either. I'm just as vocal about that as I am about that. Like and to each his own. But damn, I mean, can we have a show where about hetero people? Is that a crime now?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely it definitely it definitely gets to a point where I feel like a lot of it is imposed. A
What's a
lot of
better way?
times it's
What's a better way to say it? That's a better way to say it.
I mean, a lot of times when it comes, so it's past the point of just acceptance now. As much as it is now, is to a degree, some of it is predatory.
Yeah,
Some
well,
of it is
yeah,
predatory. Some of it
yeah.
is imposing. When you start when you start bringing up conversations about uh transsexuals or gay people using bathrooms that men and women's bathrooms and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Bathrooms that children might be using. When you start talking about sports and 40-year-old men playing on high school girl basketball teams, you know what I'm saying?
I hope it hasn't gotten to that yet.
It has.
I'm more like when preteen children are being marketed because they may be different. You know what I mean? I'm more confused about that. You can have a 12-year-old kid and you parading him around like he's not a boy, and he's a boy. No matter what his preference is, he's still a boy. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the Wade family. That's kind of strange to me. But same thing with the Smith family. They didn't parade it around, but they gave their children autonomy. Before they even knew who they were.
Right.
I think that's crazy.
Low Life Lead said being heterosexual is not normal no more.
Agree,
I,
1,000%.
I definitely
It
agree with what you
is
think
not the
about
norm.
that statement, Haas, as far as street culture in the younger generation.
Heterosexual is heterosexual is not normal anymore. That's the question.
Yeah.
Well, I have disagree on that one.
You think heterosexual is still normal?
Yeah, why not? You think it's more gay? You think it's more gay people out here than heterosexuals?
It's starting to look that way, bro.
I would say yes.
Starting to look that way.
Yeah, I ain't watched that much TV, man. I haven't watched that much TV. I really don't. I'm glad I don't watch
but
TV.
you don't have to watch TV to see it.
See, I do. Because when I got like this device right here, I watch what I want to watch. I see what I want to see. It's like I'm not being programmed. It's like I'm programming myself.
Crystal Marshall said it's imposed on children and cartoons now.
It always has been.
I was about to say that. That's an interesting point because it is even on Bugs Bunny and all that back in the day, they was doing a lot of gay stuff, but it was slicker and
direct.
Yeah.
I seen Bugs transform into a chick on one of the cartoon shows, man.
He did all that.
To throw Yosemite Sam off his trail.
He did all that. In fact, I just posted a picture. I don't have it right now, but I posted a picture on Facebook. You know what I mean? Where the rooster, that rooster cartoon, like, I don't know, I think it might have been Tom and Jerry or something, but he was sticking something. Yeah, it was Tom. Cat, you know what I mean? He was tied up like on some sadomasochistic type thing, and the rooster was putting something in his anal. Like, yeah, they was doing that on cartoons back then, man. We just might not have been hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was definitely more subliminal.
Yeah, subliminal racist stuff.
I seen where they got I seen where they have a gay Captain America.
Yeah, that's the new thing coming out. Yeah, new gay Captain America.
That's pretty wild.
Right. Low Life Lee said, crazy that cartoons can be gay. They cancel womanizing Pepe Le Pew with Trying to Live. I mean, on that Pepe Le Pew thing, like it's crazy because I seen somebody post on Facebook like now that they canceled Pepe Le Pew, my son can get back to playing Grand Theft Auto where he can burn up a hooker for not having his money on time, set her on fire.
That's one hell of a connection to make. Pepe Le Pew. God damn. I just thought Pepe was tenacious, man. He never took nothing. Like he never trapped nobody. He just chased you.
I remember when they announced one of the Teletubbies was gay. That was real major back then.
I thought all the Teletubbies was gay.
But to actually hear that one of them was gay was like real major, and I think they fired him just because everybody knew. And you never even know who he was. He in the motherfucking suit.
The purple one. And the red one. And the yellow one. Whatever color was. All the motherfuckers was gay. What you talking about?
So I mean, since we on the subject, how does the gay culture and the street culture intertwine?
Well, that was my question.
They don't.
And of course they do.
So of course they do. How?
Hey man, listen, man. I don't know if I want to say this.
Say it, man. We here now.
I know people that have transgender children, man. You know what I'm saying? And I happen to be at somebody's house when they transgender child came home with a regular nigga from the streets. Like, that's what I thought. And I had to ask her after her child left. Was like, yo, do the board know that's a dude? Because he looked like you, huh? A regular dude. Like I was
like me.
I was like, yo, man, that's crazy. So you can't tell anymore. You don't know who's gay. I was in the supermarket, man. And I heard a guy talking to a girl, young dude, man. And she asked him, did the dude still, what's up with some dude or whatever? And he was like, man, that nigga love me too much, man. I'm done with all that gay shit. I was like, how you just be done with it? Like, you don't know who's gay and who's not gay anymore, man. So, I mean, it's a perfect merge. Some of the gangsters niggas man, might like boy pussy. And on the female side of it, I mean, it's what you're supposed to be now. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a girl and you ain't gay, then, like, I mean, I think it's harder on them than it is on the dudes.
Yeah, so Low Life Leak said they coexist.
Indeed. They have to. You gotta fix your audio, Haas.
You hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, them dudes that go to jail 5 years at a time, keep going 5 years. You dudes gay, man. You like, I mean, seeing a bunch of men.
I thought they were street niggas.
Ain't no street nigga, man.
So listen.
Well, street nigga just gonna go to jail. He ain't gonna keep dipping in and out, dip back, man. Just go to jail.
All right, I'm back to being confused, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again.
So I just got a text from Low Life Leech. He asked me to involve the people in the comments. So if anybody in the comments want to come into this conversation, just put your email up in the comment section and I'll send you an invite and you can jump on real quick before we close out. Just toss me your email and we'll bring you in.
That'd be dope. That should be dope.
Yeah, I hope that's what you meant by involve the people in the conversation. Aside from me just reading the comments.
Right, talking about us.
But, so apparently the consensus is that the gay culture and the street culture at this point coexist. We definitely see a lot of situations in the rap game where rappers are being caught out there with transsexuals. I think part of the problem too is the deception behind it.
Right.
When you playing one role, but in reality you really like something different behind closed doors, but you're ashamed of it. You know what I mean? Street culture really does. Street culture is ideally very macho, like very masculine in the sense that I'm not doing that. I'm not. You know what I mean? And so sometimes there's a lot of deception involved. You got a lot of A lot of guys. I mean, we talked about this in one of our previous conversations. How advanced transsexuals are now. So much so that you could be talking to what you think is a woman, and by definition, she was born a man. You know what I mean?
You can fall in
So
love with a man.
yeah. So the
Got a
consensus seems
girlfriend.
to be that the two coexist: gay culture and the street culture. Low Life Lee said masculine cats in jail be street and funny.
True. Some of them. I mean, this masculine cats on the street. That's funny. If I understand how he's employing the word funny.
I don't think he mean just laughter or amusement. I
You
mean,
mean bohemian?
yeah.
Yeah, man. There's some cats out here that'll fool you, man. That you don't got to go to jail to run into the masculine cat that like guys.
Hey, look, man. I know Low Life Leach personally, man. We go back many years, man. And I would love for him to come on because I know he got some crazy stories that he probably could share, man. You know what I
Man,
mean?
stop playing and jump on in here, man.
You know what I'm saying?
We still got to touch on the power of or within self, man. We got to get to that.
Yeah. All right. So since we heading towards our closing, let's go ahead and close out with that. Low Life Lee says street culture is also secretive. Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like it's a lot of secrets, a lot of deceptions that get mad. Like my man said, he said he knew a lot of killers that became drug dealers just so they could kill. Not kill to sell drugs, but sold drugs just so they can kill. In other words, selling drugs became mask that they use to really carry out what they really had on their mind. You know what I mean? As killers.
I'm gonna want a little more clarification on that. I'm
Oh,
taking it like you saying by selling the drugs they killing the people.
no, he was saying they was cold killers.
Right,
They
I get that
became
part.
drug dealers because that gave them an arena to quench their thirst for blood.
Competition.
The street life gave them an arena where they could operate as murderers and get away with it.
In terms of what your competition, or in terms of the drugs you selling to the people.
No, just straight cold killers. In other words, if I was out here murdering people, I would be considered a serial killer. But if I was a drug dealer, that opens up a whole new lane for me to get off in. You know what I mean? As far as being bloodthirsty.
In what way?
I mean, in the streets, you can do it. You can get it. You can do it. You can kill and be glorified.
Okay. Like if a cat come up against you or some competition or something like that.
Yeah, or if you go
Okay.
after them or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay. I didn't know if he was saying by selling the drugs, you're killing people. You're killing the people you're selling the drugs to.
So Crystal Marshall says, "So are the boys in blue." I'm thinking that she's responding to when Low Life Lee says street culture is also secretive. He says, "So are the boys in blue."
Yeah.
To me, the boys in blue
That's
are.
a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
That's
me,
a
the
good
boys.
point. How much do the police contribute to what we know as street culture?
Well, they're part of it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They're almost the other half of it.
Shit, I know for a fact I know for a fact they extort drug dealers and have drug dealers actually make a way for them to sell drugs so they can pay them.
Uh oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to mention, I mean, a bigger percentage of drugs that hit the street, probably come from the police departments.
Wow.
In terms of, if I catch you and you got, some weight on you, I'm a cop. I'm not reporting all that shit. I'm gonna put some of that shit back on the streets, man, and get some bread.
Uh oh.
And I ain't the only person that thinks like that. I know that for sure. So I know a couple cats that got caught up in that a little bit, along with not just drugs, man, guns.
I was about to say that.
Everything.
Information.
Constitution.
Information.
Right.
You know what I mean? Avenues as far as, yo, bull be right here. I'm gonna go ahead 5 blocks over. Make sure everybody on that was working that night is gonna be 5 blocks over. Go do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? You got a clear lane to get up out of there. I mean, it's endless, man.
I mean, so in other words, there are countless examples of police officers contributing to what we know street culture and much of the criminal activity that takes place within it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Thank you, Crystal Marshall, for bringing that up. The Boys in Blue. I'm glad we didn't close out, but without bringing that to the surface, because that's a big one. Low Life Lee said the biggest gang. Yeah, how about that?
He said what?
The biggest gang, referring to the police, like they the biggest gang,
yeah.
biggest gang in the hood.
They the most well equipped anyway. I don't know if they the biggest, but they the most well equipped.
Most organized.
That as well. And I mean, that's what he means by biggest. I mean, look at what's happening now, man. You know, black people have become a target by law enforcement. Almost to where it was trendy. Or trending even. And none of them got in trouble, man. Or very few of them, I would say, yeah, they're a pretty big gang.
So I might have to say, when I hear people out here saying we run the streets, I might have to say that the cops, the police they might hold that crown.
They definitely hold that crown. Yeah. Anybody say that ain't doing nothing but running their mouth.
So what you think, Hash? You think the Boys in Blue, some of the ones that's involved in that culture, they holding the crown? They the real street niggas?
No bohemians, man. they gang. They ain't the biggest gang, but damn, they powerful.
My man.
I think they more powerful than the police. I think that's the biggest gang, the Bohemians.
Bohemians. Y'all gonna have to look that up. We ain't getting into that tonight.
Yeah, that just falls under the police. Falls under them. So.
All right. Okay.
So Crystal Marshall said they the most protected. How about that?
Who, the police?
Absolutely. Yeah. They can kill you and get away with it.
I think that's where street culture falls short each and every time. Once street culture enters into the courtroom, it holds no more weight, no more power.
Well, because you surrendered all your power, though. You've taken yourself out of your element and put yourself into an environment that you're not familiar with. And I might add one that is not designed for you to win. So
that's where the police, that's where their true power exists. In that courtroom.
With the Bohemians. You know what I mean? I'm with you, Haas. I'm with you.
They feast on amongst themselves too.
Of course.
Them cops kill each other too. Them cops, man, crack down on themselves. Man, they be getting themselves out the way. It be police that looks. I mean, I don't know what you call them. I don't know if it's the CIA or whatever. Whoever's above the police, that's all they do is look at crooked cops and bad shit they doing and indict them. So they got cops for cops.
Yeah, internal affairs.
Yeah, they got cops for cops. So
Low Life Lee said orchestrated enforcement of chaos.
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Man, that's a hell of a statement.
Yeah, I agree.
Orchestrated enforcement of chaos.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, you know what comes out of chaos, right?
Order?
Absolutely.
Law and order.
What are the police?
Law and order.
A fraternal order. Right? Right. So
damn.
Their whole position is to create chaos so you can achieve order.
Damn.
That's a very, very powerful statement, brother.
Haircut.
Yes, you
I don't
did.
even know how to follow that one up because you talking about decoding the code of the streets. I'm getting a little more than what I bargained for out of this conversation at this point.
Yeah, he might as well just send you an email. I mean, yeah. Matter of fact,
Yeah,
you probably that's your man, right?
yeah.
You already got his email. Send him a joint. Tell him to stop playing.
In the comment section, he said next time.
I'll be waiting, sir. Sounds like you
Yeah,
have something to say.
yeah, we might have to do a decoding the streets part 3 at this point.
4,
Shit.
5,
Yeah, I
6.
was about to say decoding the streets can get heavy, yo.
Yeah, we gonna syndicate this bitch. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Because you know what, man, on some real shit, like that's a message that we can't stop pumping, man. You know what I mean? I think we hitting them on a different level. This is a fun show for me. You know what I mean? You know, our last couple joints, man, they've been equally entertaining. You know, but this one is just it's a nice flow to it. I'm digging it. You know what I'm saying? I'm digging it a lot. I miss my guys though. I wish I was here to go through this with me.
Yeah,
But
Dwight Simmons said, watch them Adams apples, bro.
that nigga still up, man. Come on, man. Watch the Adams apple. For y'all don't know what he's talking about.
I ain't even
Girls that
gotta
got
get
throats that
that
look
close
like this.
to listen, I ain't
Watch
even
them
gotta get
knuckles
that
too.
motherfucker close
Watch
to
them.
know if it's a man or
Hey,
not.
man, listen, bro. They got some joints that'll fool you out here, huh?
Listen, man. Listen, men got legs, man. These
All
legs,
right.
you cannot confuse men legs with women legs.
Hey, listen, man.
If
Don't
I
don't don't
see
let that be
nothing, if
don't
I
let
never
that be
seen
your
a,
criteria, House. Check them Adams apples, man. Listen to my man.
It's real out here in these streets, huh?
if I didn't see your face and you got it all covered, listen, look at your hands and your legs, your feet. You as a man.
I want to see baby pictures. Ain't nothing going down because you could have been a man. You could have been born a boy and you a whole girl now, bro. Oh, with all the working parts.
So Low Life Lee said, police are like roaches. They eat, destroy everything. They multiply fast, and killing one only brings more. They infested the streets first. Word.
Yeah, I agree.
Crystal Marshall said, do a part 3.
Absolutely.
And
Only if
she
she gonna
also,
come on.
We doing the part
yeah,
3 now.
Yeah. Crystal
Crystal
Martin, I
Marshall
want you
said,
on, Crystal Martin. We need the power of a queen's perspective.
Crystal Marshall said they get surgery now. I think that was for you, Haas.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of surgery they need.
They getting a whole lot of surgery, bro.
Right. But like I said,
They
man,
spending bands on surgery, cuz.
look,
So
women,
I want to
man.
go back. I want to go back to this comment that Low Life Leech left. Lisa, like roaches, they eat, destroy everything. They multiply fast, and killing one only brings more. Infested the streets first. I wanted the last few words in that statement. They infested the streets first. So let's look at that, man. Because at one time, police were created to catch slaves, according to my understanding, to catch indigenous people. You know what I mean? You could just be walking down the road and get stopped and locked up for vagrancy and have to be on a chain gang and stuff like that. What do you think about the idea of police being the first, for lack of a better term, street niggas, as you called them earlier, Hans? First ones out here. Did they invent this shit? Or just some of them just got their hand in it, like just because of just human nature and the
Well,
corruption of man?
if I could jump in there for a hot second, give Haas a chance to get it together. What do you want to say? That's a heavy question. Um, From what I understand, the police came, that was their purpose, to organize the criminals, to keep the criminals, in place or organized. And ironically, the ones who started the police were some of the biggest criminals. And I kind of think the criminal element will never leave any society. There will always be a criminal element. You know what I mean? I want to know who's going to police the real criminals, though. Dude buying up all the farmland, the dude that got patent to these motherfucking viruses and releasing them into humanity, man. Who policing them? I digress. I apologize.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Ash, you got anything you wanted to say to that?
No.
Not yet.
Low life leech put KKK. I'm thinking that's
police,
referring to the Ku Klux Klan.
They order police. I said it.
What?
I said order police. I said it.
Well, now there's a lot of talk about white supremacist groups infiltrating the police forces across the country. What do you think about that?
I think white. Say it again. White. What kind of forces?
White supremacist organizations infiltrating the police forces.
I think that actually went down.
Yeah, I think white supremacist organizations have proven to be in colleague with the government of this country.
How about that?
I think the KKK, like the KKK being involved and stuff like that, man. I think it's actually happening less now. They're actually watching who they let. We're on them to the point where they're watching who they hire to, become policemen or whatever.
I'm gonna say this, House. I'm gonna cut you off for 1 second. I'm gonna say this now. The president of the United States currently has been rumored to have ties with the KKK and other white supremacists.
Donald Trump and all of them too, because they invest their money and they put their money somewhere close to these guys, or they making some money with these guys somehow. But that doesn't mean nothing with the KKK. We just talking about their activities. We don't know the intentions of the higher ups. The higher ups could be using them, could be destroying them, and never know.
They could be members of them.
Could be members of them, but you never know.
Oh, we know. What do you mean we don't know? You never know. Y'all don't want to know. If you don't know, it's because you don't want to.
Crystal Marshall said, legalize lynching, take your breath away. How about that?
Yeah, well, I've often said that, the way the cops was mowing black people down, man, it was a modern day lynching is the term I use. You know what I mean? We were being hunted. We are being hunted and executed publicly. That qualifies to me as a lynching. I agree with you, Crystal.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that when you connect all those dots, it's definitely some legalized. I mean, it only makes sense, man. That's the type of power moves that gangsters make. Is that once you deal with the black market and you master that, you start legitimizing the strategy and start putting people in positions of power, from the police to the FBI.
Huh? Population control ties into that as well.
Absolutely. Low Life Lee said Trump showed where they are. Trump showed where they are. They stormed the Capitol.
Yeah. Trump exposed the hell out of them. They hated Trump.
Who hated Trump?
The KKK wound up hating him, right?
I don't think so.
Well, at the beginning they didn't, but when they found out Trump, I think his intentions upset everybody, like the politicians and shit like that. They was upset at Trump. They was speaking down on Trump. They trying to get him out of here because he was using them, but I think he was using them more so than he was with them.
I believe he's an honorary member at best.
I think he's an infiltrator. I think Trump was one of the biggest infiltrators of the White House, besides a lot of the other presidents and shit who infiltrated the White House, became president to do what they wanted to do.
Trump a Bohemian?
Do I believe Trump? I believe Trump was actually like an outcast of them guys. I don't know. Like it's a energy or entity I get from him that he's just like an infiltrator. Like he just came. He wanted them to believe everything that he was supposed to do. He never did for them, and that's when they turned on him. When they found out,
they rumored that
dictator.
Yeah, they rumored that he was a time traveler. That he traveled back here from the future.
No, you tripping.
That's what they were saying, bro.
Listen,
they said that nigga time travel, man.
You tripping.
Trump had.
That's a whole nother conversation, man. We start talking about time travel and aliens and
you ain't hear that,
man. Yeah, nowadays you hear all kind of stuff, man. Yeah. Who knows?
They got pictures, man. It's for real.
I just think he was an infiltrator, man, who infiltrated the White House with his own intentions, just letting people hear what they wanted to hear. You know,
where he been at anyway?
The streets. Trump? What you mean? He in these streets.
Trump back in the streets?
He dumped that money in the streets. Why not? He back in these streets.
Good move.
He knew where he was going. Talking about he knew where to put that money at.
How they say? Suave. Okay. That's a safe place to be. That's really ironically, man, the streets is the only place you can go when you hiding from the fucking people.
Wow.
You got to go back to the streets in order to be not to be hidden.
Okay.
Chilling in the trap house somewhere, huh? Ain't that about a bitch?
Word. So listen, we get ready to close out, man. And I know you wanted to touch on the power of within, man. I think that would be a good note to close this conversation out on.
Yes,
sir. I think we did a great job decoding the code of the streets. I definitely could see how this conversation could turn into part 3.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
I want to pass it off to you, man, to close out, man. The power of within.
Yeah, so my topic is the power of or within self, man. The importance of acquiring a knowledge of self, first and foremost. You know, understanding the laws of attraction can help us. You know, the influence of nutrition, keep yourself strong, you know, from the inside out, you know, build that good base and foundation. And the necessity of having culture and using the credible works left by our ancestors. All things that we can employ to combat the code of the streets or to write the code of the streets. In my estimation, humbly.
I like that. I like that a lot. Returning that really on the note of a solution, because that's what I was hitting at earlier. How can we address these issues? So basically, returning to our natural self, returning to the power that exists within us, versus leaning so heavily on external validation and desires. Mind over matter, as you put it earlier. Low Life Lee says supremacy for them is outlasting us by any means. White supremacy is changing colors from old times. Evil evolves. Trump was the figurehead of hate. Whites will always love him. And Crystal Marshall said he is underground.
Okay. Yeah, I often say about
whites hate that man.
Huh?
I think whites hate Trump.
Some of them.
They want all he won all the way for them. They hate him.
It's been proven that some of them love him. They stormed the Capitol on his command.
True.
You know what I mean?
I think they got their own tribal wars within themselves. They battling and fighting within themselves.
Can you read the brother? What's his name? Polite?
Leach. Low Life Leach.
Low Life Leach.
Yeah.
Hell of a moniker, sir. Can you read his comment again, please?
Supremacy.
Why do we damn. I want to ask one question, man. This the whole storming of the White House thing. It was nothing but a party, man. It was the same party Andrew Jackson threw at the White House.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
Yeah,
the same. It was the
okay.
same party.
Okay.
Turned to a massacre. If you read about what Andrew Jackson did to the White House, he had to put money back into the White House because he tore it up. He put $50,000 into the White House. After he tore it up, he threw a party at the White House. Literally, like anybody came, Negroes,
Yeah, but
white.
it wasn't no Negroes there the
Yes,
last
it was.
time. Oh,
yes,
it was. It was a couple.
It was Negroes there.
They wasn't partying no house.
They was partying, rumping.
Couple of them people in jail right now, man.
They was partying, they was rumping. It was all wild shit. To the point he had to escape the White House and leave. I mean, he kind of threw that too. They got a history of throwing these parties and wrecking the White House and stuff. Like,
oh, you know what? So I had to Google it because I'm like, how stay taking us down some rabbit holes? So I Googled it, right?
that quick?
Apparently, Andrew Jackson threw a rowdy party, according to Google, at the White House.
Yeah.
He brought enslaved people from the Hermitage to work at the White House. He continued to purchase enslaved people while he was the president. Yeah, apparently, according to Google, man, he threw a party at the story of the wildest party in the White House. Yahoo News.
Right.
The party was so big.
I will say this about Haas. What he says is usually grounded in truth. I will say that. I don't know if that was the same thing. But
it says the White House has seen a lot of big parties, but nothing compares to March 4th, 1829, where Andrew Jackson open house sparked a mob scene that almost destroyed the president's house.
Yeah, they got it in.
Huge crowd drank heavily, destroyed the furniture.
Listen, Andrew Jackson was all out.
Ground cheese. They ground cheese into the carpets with their boots.
It is
kind of President had to dip out the back door to get away.
He escaped his own party out the back window. I heard he jumped out the window. It was the door.
I don't know why you looked that up, but
oh man, we about to go down the road.
I just dropped the jewel on us. No, I guarantee you, none of us knew about that.
I love when Haas comes through, man.
Listen, man, that man right there. Y'all talk about president. You're talking about Trump. If you read what Andrew Jackson did in the White House, it was crazy.
Is he the one that staged the first coup? Is that him, or was that another president?
He staged what?
A coup?
I don't know who that was.
Somebody did. I don't know. I don't even want to come in there. I want to get to my man's comment. I want to.
I know he did, and guess what? Andrew Jackson, he was really aiming at politicians too. He was trying to kill politicians. Politicians didn't like him either. He was really trying to keep. Back then, they was allowed to like get in duel matches and stuff like that. And that's what he was into, actually.
So they was the original. It was the original street niggas. Then is what you're saying?
Yeah.
And they had a barbecue and fucked the crib.
He got up and like it did
true street nigga fashion.
Want.
True street nigga fashion. Well, yo, read my man's comment, man. Read my man's comment, bro, please.
All right. Please. And we're gonna read his comment. A couple other comments that came through. Crystal Marshall said, "White supremacists love him. They are one and the same," referring to Donald Trump. The T478 says Trump is self-serving and will use anyone from white supremacists to Lil Wayne to gain influence. Very good point.
Yes,
so back to Low Life Leech. He says supremacy for them is outlasting us by any means. White supremacy is changing colors from old times. Evil evolves. Trump was the figurehead of hate. Whites will always love him.
Yeah, I mean, I always say about Trump that, Trump spoke the conscientious voice of white America. You know what I mean? Which is why he was so polarizing. He spoke exactly what, they think. He embodied it, man. He represented it so well. The arrogance of it. You know, what wasn't game plan for was, he's like a virus. You can't control him. You can only control him to a certain extent. Then you have to exterminate it. Like, you have to kill the virus. So, yeah, I agree with that 100%. As far as white supremacy outlasting us, that race isn't over yet, sir. You know what I mean? And, we are waking up. We're forced to. We have to. They have shown us once again what it really is. Where the pestilence comes from, and they leave us only really one alternative to combat it, and that's to combat it. We tried loving them to death. We tried accepting them. We tried teaching them. We tried incorporating them into, society with us, so forth and so on. They're just a cancer. And, like any other virus, it needs to be eradicated for it to have an end.
Crystal Marshall said, Hassan, did you learn this in school or the streets? Referring to Andrew Jackson.
Oh, that's just self-research. I forgot what got me into looking at the presidents. I think I was looking at some assassination stuff like that. See what presidents had assassin. That was, matter of fact, I was looking up the most cruelest presidents or something like that. It was something like that, like all the presidents that did dirt and stuff like that. And that's how I got into it. I don't know. I just be reading. I don't know. I just looked that up though. I was reading that not too long ago. I was just happy to be into it. I know some of the people he killed, Charles Dickinson and all the people, they was politicians. He killed a lot of like politicians and stuff. So I learned
He was
that.
in the way. And Trump would have did that shit if he could have. I get the comparison.
Crystal Marshall said, yes, Trump did represent white supremacy. So, I mean, it's crazy because it seems like we talking about these white supremacists, and it seems like there's a direct correlation between what we know today as street culture and what white supremacist culture represents.
I'm gonna need you to expound on that one a little bit.
I mean, we talking about all the stuff that's gangster, that defines street culture, taking out your enemies, riding on your enemies, killing, wilding out, being rowdy, all that stuff that stereotypically represents street culture, we see in the White House, we see in
Oh yeah.
the police force, we see in the FBI tactics, we see in politics, all the stuff we describe, and it seems like it all correlates.
It sounds like to me that saying of when life begins to imitate art.
Yeah.
You know?
Better yet, you have the puppets and the puppeteers.
Absolutely.
Perhaps what we call street culture is really our strings being pulled by somebody else's culture.
Exactly. So I mean, and you know what? Ironically, man, I know we had conversations pertaining to stuff like this several times, man. The fact that we are devoid of our culture makes us so thirsty for a culture that we will
Good
accept
point.
anything as culture.
Good point.
You know,
Good point.
which ties into that Stockholm syndrome, which ties directly right back into the Willie Lynch that you mentioned earlier. So
Good point.
it's a vicious plan that started a long time ago that we're suffering the fallout of now. But it was a well played out, well thought out, and a well executed plan, nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? So, at some point in time, we just need to, I guess, let that pineal gland open up. I'm sorry. I neglected to add that in the solution, man. The pineal gland, how to activate it. We need to stay in above average physical conditioning because we got a fight on our hands, man, physically and mentally, that we have to be prepared for. You know, we have to be strong enough to stay the course. Currently, we're under attack biologically. Or so they tell us with this COVID. And if you're not strong enough to fight it off, it will take you out of here. I'm gonna add. I'm a huge advocate of being against 5G technology as well. You know, that's pestilence in another form that I think we should pay attention to. And it's, again, something we're going to need to be physically strong enough to fight off
Hmm.
because we are under attack. Let's be clear.
Any last words on decoding the street culture, Haas?
Mm, nah, we got a lot more to talk. We got a lot more research and studying to do. I think this topic is just a never ending topic. I mean, you got so many perspective ways, and it's a lot of ways we could go with this. I think we ain't at the bottom of it for sure. So I don't have any, words, no solutions or none of that.
I think what we call street culture plays a heavy influence, especially on our youth, but even in the lives and the mindset of many adults. I think rap music serves as a soundtrack to that. And I think rap music is dictated not so much by the artists, but by the people that are funded and sign the paychecks. And I think many of those peoples have uh, stocks and investments and relationships with the private prison systems. And so I think it's a circular effect going on where the music is corrupting the minds and the minds are acting out according to these corruptions and fueling the prison systems, fueling legal systems, fueling the medical systems, fueling everything with the exception of the community in which these artists dwell. So yeah, I definitely think street culture, like I said, it's a never-ending subject that could be analyzed and researched on deeper levels. But I think that street culture, whether you consider yourself in the streets or not, you're affected by it. All of us we're affected by it. I think what we call street culture is bigger than the streets. It goes into like we said, the corruption in the police, politicians, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I definitely think that the solution is to return to our natural sciences, understanding who we are from within, working from the inside out, with the pineal gland, understanding neural melanin, production of melanin, uh, being fit, strong as best as possible, and understanding that we are under attack so that we can develop strategies rather than just have our strings being pulled. So on that note, we in OT. It's been a great night. This has been an awesome conversation. Let me just check to see if there's any final comments. No, that's it. All
Yeah,
right. So yeah.
I got something else I want to say too, man.
Okay.
It was brought to my attention earlier, man. It's a young lady, named Shauna Johnson, who was a victim of a really bad car accident in New Jersey. She got burnt up pretty bad, and everyone else in the car with her lost their lives. So she's the sole survivor. After she healed from her injuries, man, she was arrested and charged with vehicular homicide. Although there was no drugs, no alcohol, anything found in her system or in the car. So my point is, her people have a GoFundMe. Again, her name is Nashona, Nashauna Johnson. Uh, and it's just on the GoFundMe page. Help Nashauna's legal fees. I'm Worst case I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna screenshot this and post this on Facebook, man. I think that's a great travesty, man. You know, and if that family needs help, man, this is a medium that we could use to help them out. I think it's our duty to put that information out there. But they have, I guess you guys know how GoFundMe works, man.
Yeah, and we'll be back next week. We didn't get to discuss any current events, but we'll be back next week to talk about some of the more current events. I'm sure by next week, the more strange, crazy, and outlandish shit is going to happen. But just in this week alone,
yeah, man. The Derek Jackson thing, man.
yeah, we got the Derek Jackson thing to talk about, which is superficial, but nonetheless, it
Yeah,
produces
you
some
know that
very
shit.
interesting
Right,
conversations.
right. You know that shit doesn't move me at all.
Right.
But
We got the white man in Atlanta that then shot up all of the Asian people in the spas. We got the white man in Colorado that just shot up a supermarket.
we
You
got
know, we
Kirk
got
Franklin going through something.
who?
Kirk Franklin going through something with his
Yeah,
kids or something. We got the
yeah.
white boy.
Yeah, Kirk Franklin cursed out his child. Yeah, and I forgot one of the comments that said too. Snowfall is the only show on TV that's not gayed out. I think that was Leech Man that put that up.
Yeah, not yet.
And not yet.
But can we get some American actors? Can we get some Black American actors? I love Franklin.
Nah,
I love his character.
you asking for too much now.
We can't.
Nah, you asking for too much.
We're being supplanted once again, huh?
Yeah, that mean they would have to give people like us jobs on the screen, and that
I'm trying to come up real quick. I'm getting old, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
we out here. Yo, I want to send a special shout out to our audience, man, who made this night so much more enjoyable, man. Like, thank you for all of the comments, man. It really does a lot to push the conversation forward, man, and we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I was going to say that in closing as well, man. You know, I appreciate that interaction, man, and I'm gonna get more up on the tech so I can have a better interaction with you guys, man. But I appreciate all the questions. I appreciate the interaction. I'm looking forward to maybe a couple of y'all, you know, showing some face. What's my man name? The Leech.
Yeah, Leech Man.
Sounds like a very interesting guy. And the sister, what's her name?
Crystal Marshall.
Crystal Marshall. I appreciate you, Queen. Namaste.
Word. Good night, fellas.
Peace out, son.